Humanity has always gazed upward in wonder, in the stillness of a clear night, long before city lights and science. Our ancestors looked into the infinite darkness above and felt both curiosity and comfort. The sky was a vast, mysterious canvas of tiny lights and a shimmering river of stars we now call the Milky Way. What were those lights? How did this endless expanse come to be? Each culture, in every corner of the world, told its own story of how the universe was born. These stories were whispered by the fireside, shared from parent to child under the twinkling stars, forming the earliest understanding of our cosmic origins. In a time before time, as one Norse tale begins, there was only a yawning void of silence and darkness, called Ginnungagap. No earth below, no sky above, just a boundless nothingness. From the north, icy mists and frost crept into this void. From the south, glowing embers and primordial fire. Where these extremes met, sparks flew, and the ice began to melt, dripping into the void. Out of those droplets, mingled of fire and ice, emerged Ymir, a giant and the first of beings. He slept in the vast darkness, and from his body, new life eventually formed. In that ancient story, Ymir was the raw material of creation. When the dawn of the gods came, they took Ymir's colossal form and shaped a world from it. His flesh became the land, his blood the sea, his great bones the mountains, and his skull the dome of the sky. In this Norse imagining, even the clouds were said to be made from Ymir's brains, and trees from his hair. What once was an empty void was now a living world, crafted from the remnants of a primordial giant. It's a fierce, yet strangely poetic vision. Life born out of the union of fire and ice, chaos transformed into an ordered cosmos. Far to the south in ancient Egypt, another story of cosmic birth was told in soft, reverent tones. In the beginning, there was only the dark, endless waters of Nun, quietly stirring in emptiness. But from those sacred waters rose a small hill, a mound of earth emerging like a newborn island in a limitless sea. Upon this primeval hill stood Atum, the first god, who willed himself into being. He was alone in the void, but in that solitude he began creation. From his thoughts, or perhaps from a single word, he brought forth twin children, Shu, the air, and Tefnut, the moisture, essential elements of life. As Atum's children ventured into the darkness, they became lost in the vast expanse. Yearning for them, Atum sent out his eye, which shone as a radiant light, to seek them. In that first light, Shu and Tefnut returned, and Atum wept with joy. From the tears of the god falling onto the rich soil, the first humans sprouted. In Egyptian myth, the universe emerged gently from water and silence. Some versions say a lotus flower bloomed on the surface of those primeval waters, and from its petals, the infant sun god first rose, spreading light across the abyss. Each dawn, then, was not just a new day, but a recreation of that first sunrise, the triumph of light and life over endless night. To the east, in ancient China, people spoke of a great cosmic egg that held the chaotic mix of everything before the world existed. Within this dark egg, the giant Pangu slept for countless ages, while the universe waited unformed around him. When the time was right, The egg cracked open. The clear, light parts of the egg floated up to become the sky, and the heavy, murky parts settled down to form the earth. Awoken in this moment of creation, Pangu found himself in the middle of sky and earth. He stood up and braced the sky with his hands, pushing upwards, and stomped the earth down with his feet. Each day, to keep them apart, Pangu grew taller and taller, holding heaven and earth separate as the gap widened. After 18,000 years of this vigilant labour, the sky was high and secure above, and the earth was broad and firm below. Only then did Pangu, exhausted, lay down and close his eyes. As he slipped away, his immense body began to transform and give new life to the world. His final breath became the wind and the clouds. His deep voice, the rumble of thunder. One eye became the bright sun, the other, the gentle moon. His flowing blood turned into rivers, and his muscles and flesh became fertile soil. The hair on his head spread out as lush forests, and even his bones and teeth turned into rocks and minerals. In one sweet twist of the legend, the fleas that had lived on Pangu's skin were carried off by the wind and became human beings. In this Chinese tale, as in the Norse, a giant's body became our world, and what was once a silent, dark egg of chaos burst forth as a universe teeming with nature's wonders. And there were many other tales across the world, each as magical and meaningful to those who told them. In the Arctic night, some Inuit elders would tell of a great raven that brought light to a dark world by freeing the sun from a box and flinging it up into the sky. The Maori of New Zealand say that once the Sky Father and Earth Mother were locked in a tight, loving embrace, their children, longing to live in light and space, pushed them apart. Father Sky was forced high above, Mother Earth lay below, and in that space between them, the world as we know it was born. In an ancient Indian hymn, the universe began as an egg, a golden cosmic egg, which hatched to reveal all of creation expanding outward. And in a familiar tale shared by many, a formless void lay silent until a divine voice called into the darkness, "Let there be light." And there was light. All these stories, in their own beautiful ways, sought to answer the ultimate question: how did everything begin? They often start with emptiness, a darkness, a deep ocean, an infinite night. And then comes the spark, a thought, a word, a breath, or a burst of courage from a deity or animal that gives rise to all creation. From nothing comes everything. From darkness comes radiant light. For thousands of years, these creation myths passed from generation to generation. They were more than just stories. They were comfort and explanation, reassuring people that the world had an origin, a purpose, and an order. To those listening, these tales turned the great unknown into something familiar and wondrous. One could close their eyes by the fire and imagine that primal darkness, then picture it split by a surge of light or the rising of land and sky from the waters. The unknowable became a vivid story, a cosmic birth that could be retold and reimagined, beautiful and grand. Though each culture's tale was unique in its characters and details, they echoed one another in surprising ways. The idea of nothingness at first, the presence of water, or void, or chaos, the drama of a first sound, or first light, the emergence of divine beings, or cosmic creatures who shape the world, and light breaking through darkness like a dawn across the sky. Today, we have another way to tell the story of the birth of the universe, one based on scientific exploration and discovery. This modern cosmic tale also begins in darkness and in a kind of void, but one of a different sort. According to the best science of our time, in the beginning, the entire universe was gathered into a single point, an infinitesimal seed, smaller than a mote of dust. All that exists now, every galaxy, every star, every atom, was once cradled in that seed of unimaginable density and heat. Then, around 13.8 billion years ago, an event unfolded which we call the Big Bang. In that moment, space itself began to expand. It's as if that tiny seed of everything started to blossom, growing from smaller than an atom to larger than a galaxy in a fraction of a second. There's a poetic echo here of those cosmic eggs and primordial voids, an origin point containing all potential, exploding into the vast universe. In the first moments of this scientific creation story, the universe was incredibly hot and filled with a brilliant glow. Everything was a seething, radiant fog of energy. As space expanded and seconds passed, the universe cooled just enough for the simplest particles to take form. A thick, hot soup of matter appeared, and then, as the expansion continued, it cooled further. Particles joined together as simple atoms of hydrogen and helium. Light, which had been trapped, could finally break free and travel. The whole universe flooded with bright radiation that has since stretched and faded into a gentle microwave afterglow, a faint warmth of creation that scientists can still detect in every direction. After a few 100 million years of darkness following that initial flash, the first stars flickered on. Imagine the blackness of a young cosmos being broken by tiny points of new light. One by one, stars ignited and gathered into the first galaxies, bringing an end to the cosmic dark ages. Those first stars were massive and short-lived. They burned their fuel quickly and died in spectacular explosions, supernovae, creating in their final moments many of the elements that would later form new stars, planets, and eventually life. Our own galaxy, the Milky Way, formed over billions of years as countless stars swirled together, drawn by gravity into a grand rotating disk. In one quiet arm of this galaxy, about 4.5 billion years ago, a cloud rich with the remnants of those earlier stars began to collapse inward. At its center, a new star ignited, our Sun, bringing light to the newborn solar system. The remaining gas and dust formed a ring around this nascent Sun, gradually coalescing into planets and moons. Earth was one of those newborn planets. At first, it was a fiery ball of molten rock, bombarded by asteroids. But over time, it cooled. Rains fell and collected into oceans. The skies cleared. Within those early oceans, perhaps around deep-sea volcanic vents or in warm, shallow pools, simple life emerged. Over eons, tiny single-celled organisms evolved into more complex forms. Some learned to harness sunlight for energy, filling the air with oxygen. Life spread to the land, diversifying into countless forms, and eventually gave rise to creatures that could observe and contemplate the world. From that slow, patient blossoming of life came our own species, humans. And with us came curiosity and awareness. After billions of years, the universe could finally behold itself through our eyes. It's a profound realization that every element in our bodies, the calcium in our bones, the iron in our blood, was forged in the heart of a star that lived and died long before Earth formed. We are literally made of stardust. The scientific story ties us to the cosmos as intimately as any ancient myth ever did. In those old myths, humans might be shaped from clay by a deity, or born from the body of a giant, or from the tears of a god. In the scientific telling, we are shaped by stellar furnaces and cosmic events, born from the very fabric of the universe. Both perspectives speak to a deep unity, that we are not apart from the cosmos, but a part of it. We are threads in the grand tapestry of creation, whether one imagines that tapestry being woven by guiding gods, or by the laws of nature over unfathomable spans of time. And so, whether through myth or science, human beings have sought to illuminate that greatest of mysteries, the beginning of everything. The old stories wrap the mystery in metaphor and magic, making the void brim with meaning and purpose. The new story, written in equations and observed through telescopes, reveals a chain of events more vast and surprising than our ancestors could have dreamed. Yet both narratives, in their own ways, inspire a sense of awe. Both begin with a kind of emptiness and culminate in a universe full of light and life. They run in parallel, one recounted in the poetry of legend, the other in the language of physics. But both remind us that from simple beginnings can arise wondrous complexity. Now, under the glittering sky of our present, we reflect on these tales of cosmic birth. We stand on a world that is itself a product of that ancient dawn, and we inherit millennia of wonder from those who came before. After considering how the cosmos came to be, we naturally turn our eyes to the stars that now scatter the heavens. These stars, planets, and celestial phenomena became the next chapters in humanity's story-making. The night sky is like an endless storybook written in lights. As we journey onward, we wander among those stars and constellations, the great legends pinned in light against the dark, and discover the tales our ancestors wove about them. The creation of the world was just the first story. Now the cosmos, alive with stars, invites us to listen to the many stories written in its shimmering lights. Imagine a clear night thousands of years ago, far from any modern city lights. A small group of people huddles around a gentle fire, its orange glow flickering on their faces, while above them stretches an endless canopy of stars. One elder lifts a hand toward the sky and begins to trace outlines between the brightest stars, connecting them like a dot-to-dot puzzle. As the fire crackles softly, everyone listens in hushed silence to the elder's voice. He might say, "Do you see those stars there? The ones shaped like a long, curved line? That is the great hunter of old, chasing his prey across the heavens." In that moment, the night sky becomes more than random points of light. It transforms into a tapestry of stories, a map of heroes and monsters, of gods and animals. For as long as humans have had words to speak, we've been storytellers beneath the stars. Faced with the vast, unknowable cosmos above, we humanized it, gave it form and meaning. The constellations, those patterns we imagine by drawing lines from star to star, became our celestial characters. Nearly every culture looked up and saw familiar shapes. A bear lumbering among the stars, a proud hunter drawing his bow, a mother and child, a giant fish, a wagon, a dragon. It was as if the night sky were a mirror of the human imagination, reflecting our fears, hopes, and values. By telling stories about these starry figures, people found companionship in the dark night, feeling that the heavens were not a cold void, but a world of characters and friends twinkling down. Consider the constellation of Orion, which gleams on winter nights with its belt of 3 stars in a row. To the ancient Greeks, Orion was a mighty hunter, the most handsome of men, said to be a son of the sea god Poseidon. Many tales were told of Orion's adventures, but one famous myth explains why he shines in the sky. It is said that Orion once boasted he would hunt and kill every animal on Earth, a prideful challenge against nature itself. In response, the Earth goddess sent a small scorpion to stop him. Despite Orion's size and strength, the scorpion's venomous sting proved deadly. Orion was slain, and after his death, Zeus placed him among the stars as a brilliant constellation. The tiny scorpion was set in the opposite corner of the sky as the constellation Scorpius. To this day, Orion and Scorpius never share the night. When the scorpion rises, the hunter sets, as if Orion is forever fleeing the creature that bested him. On a clear evening, one can watch Orion sinking toward the horizon just as Scorpius crawls up, and remember that ancient story of arrogance and cosmic justice. Near Orion, another little cluster of stars has its own legend woven into the hunter's tale. The Pleiades, or 7 sisters, form a tight knot of faint stars that many cultures have noticed with wonder. The Greeks imagined them as sisters, daughters of the Titan Atlas and the sea nymph Pleione. In one story, Orion the hunter fell in love with the 7 sisters and pursued them relentlessly. Zeus, taking pity on the sisters, transformed them into doves and then into stars to hide them from Orion's chase. Yet even as stars, they could not escape Orion's attention. We see Orion in the sky, following close behind the Pleiades, eternally chasing but never reaching them. Different peoples around the world also saw these 7 stars as a little cluster of kin. To the Maori of New Zealand, this cluster is Matariki, whose first winter rising heralds the new year and a time of remembrance and planting. Many Native American tribes likewise saw 7 children or siblings in the Pleiades and tell their own tales of how these young ones ended up in the sky. It's fascinating that across the world, without any contact, so many cultures imagined these stars as a small group of related beings. Another prominent pattern, one of the most recognizable in the northern sky, is the Big Dipper. This grouping of 7 stars is part of a larger constellation, Ursa Major, the Great Bear. In Greek myth, Ursa Major was once a woman named Callisto. She was a companion of the goddess Artemis and caught the wandering eye of Zeus. In one tale, Zeus's wife Hera, enraged by jealousy, transformed Callisto into a bear, and in that form the maiden roamed the forests, unable to speak. Years passed, and Callisto's son grew into a hunter. One day he encountered a large bear in the woods, not knowing it was his mother. To prevent a tragic mistake, Zeus intervened at the last moment, sweeping both mother and son into the sky. Callisto became the Great Bear constellation, and her son became the Little Bear, Ursa Minor. To ensure they would never fall back to Earth, Zeus placed them in a region of the sky that never sets. Indeed, Ursa Major circles around the North Star and is visible all year in much of the Northern Hemisphere, as if forever roaming the heavens. Meanwhile, across the ocean, many indigenous peoples of North America also looked up at those same 7 bright stars and saw a great bear. In an Iroquois tale, for example, The bowl of the Big Dipper forms the body of a giant bear, and the 3 stars of its handle are mighty hunters in pursuit. The story goes that each autumn the hunters finally catch up to the bear and wound it, and the bear's blood drips down, staining the leaves of the trees red. But over the winter, the bear's spirit heals, and by spring it rises again, so the eternal chase continues. It's remarkable that cultures separated by oceans, from the ancient Greeks to the First Nations of Canada, all envisaged a bear outlined in those stars. Perhaps the shape of the Big Dipper truly does suggest a bear's form to the human imagination, or perhaps it speaks to shared threads in the way we find meaning in nature's patterns. The Milky Way, that pale river of light running across the sky, has also inspired countless legends. Before telescopes revealed it to be composed of myriad distant suns, people saw the Milky Way as a continuous band of glowing mist and wondered what it could be. Some called it the Road of the Gods, imagining it was a pathway along which divine beings travelled across the heavens. Others thought it was a bridge or a river between worlds. In China, a poignant love story is tied to this starry band. The Milky Way was known as the Silver River, and on one side lived a celestial weaver maiden, Zhenu, and on the other a mortal cowherd, Niu Lang. They fell deeply in love, but their union was forbidden by the Empress of Heaven. As punishment, the lovers were separated across the sky, one on each side of the Silver River, able to see each other, but never to meet. The kind-hearted magpies, moved by their sorrow, would fly up each year on the 7th night of the 7th lunar month to form a bridge across the Milky Way, allowing the two to reunite for just one precious night. This reunion is still celebrated as Kishi and as Tanabata in Japan, a festival honouring the power of love and the hope of meeting again. When we gaze up at the Milky Way on a dark summer night, we can remember this tale and almost imagine that faint band of light as a shimmering bridge of stars built by birds, joining 2 love-struck souls across the depths of space. In ancient Greece, a very different story explained the Milky Way's origin. It was said to be a spray of milk from the breast of the goddess Hera. According to myth, the infant Heracles was brought to nurse from Hera while she slept, and when she awoke and realized who the baby was, she pushed him away. A few drops of her divine milk spurted into the heavens, creating the band of light across the sky. In fact, the word galaxy comes from the Greek galaxius, meaning milky, in honor of this legend. In many other traditions, the Milky Way was seen as a more solemn pathway, the path of souls. Cultures in Africa and the Americas believed that the spirits of the departed travel along that ghostly highway of light on their way to the afterlife, or the spirit world. Some likened it to the smoke of campfires in distant celestial villages, or to the glittering spine of a great sky creature. To the Maya of Central America, the Milky Way's arch was the trunk of the Great World Tree, a cosmic ceiba tree connecting the underworld, the earth, and the heavens. Every culture looked at that soft glowing band and found a meaningful image, weaving the strange beauty of the Milky Way into their own cultural fabric. Not only the bright stars, but even the darkness between them was woven into myths. In Australia, Aboriginal peoples discerned dark constellations, outlined not by stars, but by the shapes of dark patches and dust clouds against the Milky Way's glow. One famous example is the emu in the sky. If you look up on a clear night in the southern hemisphere, you can see the silhouette of a great emu, a flightless, long-necked bird, traced by the dark nebulae of the Milky Way. Its head is formed by the coal-black Coal-Sack Nebula near the Southern Cross, and its body and legs stretch along the starry band. The story goes that this celestial emu was a creator spirit, and its appearance at certain times of year would signal the changing of seasons. When the emu's form stretched low on the horizon at dusk, it was time to collect emu eggs, an important food for many Aboriginal groups. Thus, the sky itself became a calendar and a guide. Stories like the emu in the sky show a sophisticated weaving of knowledge into myth. The motions of the heavens were used to mark seasonal events, wrapped in a narrative that was easy to teach and remember. In this way, practical wisdom, when to hunt, when to harvest, passed down through enchanting celestial lore. Indeed, many star legends carried lessons or served as timely signals. The rising of certain stars, or constellations at dawn or dusk, told our ancestors when the rains would come, or when winter's cold was drawing near its end. The first appearance of the Pleiades in the pre-dawn east, for instance, meant that a new year or planting season had arrived in many cultures, prompting ceremonies and preparations. Seafarers and desert travellers learned the stars' positions to navigate, often encoding directions in the form of star stories or memorized songs about constellations. A tale of a hero chasing a monster across the sky might, in some traditions, correspond to the path one should take on land or sea, or mark the alignment of stars pointing north. Through myth and folklore, vital information about the natural world could be preserved in a way that was both memorable and deeply moving. All these starry stories reveal how intimately connected people felt to the cosmos. The night was not an empty void at all. It was alive with our imaginings and our history. Every twinkling light could be a campfire of the gods, or a lantern hung by ancestors to guide us. Even today, there is something reassuring in stepping outside on a quiet night and recognizing Orion or the Dipper or the Pleiades, knowing that countless others before us looked upon those same stars and found comfort and meaning there. In a way, by naming and personifying the stars, we made the universe a little more familiar, a little more like home. Yet even as people told stories about the constellations, they were also paying close attention to the sky's regularities. They saw that the stars moved in predictable ways, that the sun and moon followed cycles, and that the heavens were not chaotic, but had an elegant order. Over time, this awareness grew into a more formal practice of observing and recording the motions of celestial bodies. The sky, in addition to being a canvas for myth, became humanity's first calendar and compass. Early observers noticed that the North Star, Polaris, remained nearly fixed in the northern sky, while the other stars wheeled around it. Thus Polaris became a steady beacon for travellers, a kind of pin holding up the tent of the sky. Generations of sailors and caravan leaders relied on that star to find their way at night. Similarly, by watching which constellations rose or set with each season, people could anticipate the annual flood of a great river or the approach of winter's cold. In this way, myth and observation went hand in hand. The storyteller and the sky watcher were often one and the same person, or at least worked side by side. The constellations served both as mnemonic pictures for storytelling and as reference points for navigation and timekeeping. As we continue our journey, let us follow those ancient astronomers the patient sky watchers of old. They built monuments aligned with the solstices and charted the courses of wandering planets among the stars. In doing so, they laid the foundations for astronomy and a deeper understanding of the cosmos. The transition from myth to science was not a sharp break, but a gradual shift in focus. From simply marveling at the patterns in the sky to methodically measuring them. When our ancestors realized that the stars' stories repeated in cycles, the sky became not only a theatre of imagination, but also a reliable map and cosmic clock. In a green field in ancient Britain, massive stones stand silent under the sky. It's pre-dawn on the summer solstice, and a crowd has gathered, just as people may have done thousands of years ago. As the first rays of sunlight crest the horizon, they shine in a perfect line through an archway of stones, illuminating the heart of the stone circle. This is Stonehenge at dawn on the longest day of the year. Such precise alignment of colossal stones with the rising sun is no accident. It speaks of a prehistoric people who observed the heavens closely and built a lasting monument to mark the turning of the seasons. One can imagine the awe and celebration that might have erupted as that shaft of sunlight pierced the monument, heralding the advent of summer. Stonehenge is but one example of how our ancestors sought to capture the rhythms of the sky in stone and earth, creating giant calendars that would endure for millennia. Across the world, other ancient structures echo the same idea, that the sky's movements are knowable and worth enshrining. In Ireland, the mound of Newgrange, older than the pyramids, was designed so that at dawn on the winter solstice, the sun's light snakes down a long passageway and gently bathes an inner chamber, as if to reassure those long-gone builders that light will always return after the darkest day. In Egypt, where the stars blaze above desert sands, the Great Pyramid of Giza contains narrow shafts engineered to point towards specific stars. One shaft is thought to have been aimed at Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, and another toward the belt of Orion. The ancient Egyptians watched Sirius closely. Each year, just before the Nile River's annual flood, Sirius would reappear in the dawn sky after months of absence. Its heliacal rising, as that first visible appearance is called, was a joyous sign that the life-giving waters were imminent. They even marked their new year by the return of that star. So important was its timing. It's astonishing to think of Egyptian priests 4,500 years ago standing on temple steps, scanning the eastern twilight for the first glimmer of Sirius, knowing that its return meant salvation for their fields. They believed the sky and the earth were deeply intertwined. Indeed, that their pharaohs would ascend to the stars after death. Aligning pyramids and temples with the heavens was a way to link the mortal world with the divine cosmos. In Mesopotamia, under clear Babylonian skies, priests and scholars climbed tall ziggurats, tiered temple towers, to observe the stars and planets. They mapped the paths of the wandering stars, the planets, and gave them names associated with their gods. Venus was Ishtar, goddess of love and war. Jupiter was Marduk, king of heaven. Mercury was Nabu, patron of writing, and so on. Over centuries, Babylonian astronomers collected their observations on clay tablets, recording eclipses, planetary motions, and the appearances of comets. By recognizing repeating cycles, they learned to forecast certain celestial events. They discovered the Saros cycle, noting that lunar eclipses repeat in a pattern of about 18 years. This insight allowed them to predict eclipses with fair accuracy, a stunning scientific achievement for its time. They also divided the sky into 12 equal sections, laying the foundation for the zodiac. Each section held a constellation along the sun's ecliptic path, and the sun, moon, and planets would appear to move through these constellations over the year. The zodiac began as a celestial coordinate system to track planets, but it became the wheel of fate in astrological tradition, a legacy still glimpsed in today's horoscopes. To the people of Babylon, the sky was like a sacred text. They read omens in the heavens for their kings and cities. A certain alignment of planets might foretell prosperity, while a lunar eclipse might warn of danger. Far from being mere superstition, their celestial tracking was precise. A surviving Venus tablet, for example, details the rising and setting of Venus over many years, likely to refine their calendar and perhaps to better honor Ishtar by knowing her star's behavior in detail. Meanwhile, in ancient China, the sky watchers were equally diligent and revered. Royal astronomers in China kept detailed records of celestial events spanning centuries because the mandate of their emperor was thought to be reflected in the harmony of the heavens. The appearance of a comet or the sudden occurrence of an eclipse could be interpreted as a heavenly comment on the emperor's rule. Chinese records describe comets as broom stars sweeping across the sky, and supernovae as guest stars flaring into being among the fixed stars. One famous record from July of 1054 CE describes a new star so bright it was visible in daylight for weeks. Modern astronomers recognize this as the supernova that created the Crab Nebula. The Chinese observers, unaware of the true cause, dutifully noted its position and how long it lingered. They were unparalleled record keepers. As early as 28 BCE, Chinese sky chronicles mention spots on the sun, sunspots, seen during dusty sky conditions, and by 750 CE, there were records of more than 1,000 eclipses over the centuries. They noticed patterns too. For example, the regularity with which certain eclipses would recur. As far back as 1300 BCE, Chinese astronomers understood the periodicity of eclipses. The charge of predicting these events was serious business. Legend holds that over 4,000 years ago, two imperial astronomers, named Hai and Ho, failed to predict a solar eclipse and were executed for dereliction of duty. Whether literally true or not, the tale underlines how crucial astronomy was in ancient China. Accuracy in reading the sky could be a matter of life and death, not just for astronomers, but for rulers whose legitimacy was tied to the heavens' favor. Across the oceans in the Americas, other sky watchers were no less skilled. The Maya civilization in Mesoamerica built observatories that still stand in jungle clearings today. One, a round stone structure at Chichen Itza, known as El Caracol, the snail, for its spiral staircase, has window openings aligned to the extreme rising and setting positions of Venus and the Sun. The Maya were fascinated by Venus, its appearances as the morning star and evening star, and they tracked its cycle with incredible precision. Their calculations of the length of the year and the timing of solar and lunar eclipses were so advanced that their calendar only drifted by a tiny fraction of a day over centuries. On certain dates, like the equinoxes, the Maya made their very architecture come alive with astronomical drama. At the pyramid of Kukulkan, El Castillo, in Chichen Itza, the setting sun on the spring and autumn equinox casts a series of triangular shadows on the northern staircase that resemble the body of a great serpent. In those moments, the carved stone serpent head at the base of the stairway appears attached to a long, undulating body of light and shadow. This was no accident. It was a brilliant design marrying sky, stone, and myth. The sight of the feathered serpent god seemingly slithering down from the temple as day and night hung in perfect balance must have been awe-inspiring to the gathered crowd. It was a celestial sign that the seasons were shifting once again, exactly as the priests had foretold. From the Indus Valley to the Mediterranean, ancient peoples everywhere found ways to align their lives with the sky. In Greece, as myth gave way to philosophy, thinkers like Aristotle pondered the nature of the cosmos, and mathematicians like Eratosthenes even measured the Earth's circumference, using nothing more than shadows and geometry. But the common thread everywhere was careful observation. Long before telescopes, human eyes, aided by simple instruments, measured the angles of stars, the timing of solstices and equinoxes, the arc of the sun through the seasons. Across ancient India and Persia, astronomers compiled star catalogues and refined mathematical techniques to predict planetary motions, leaving texts and teachings that would later guide scholars of the Islamic Golden Age. By medieval times, Arabic names like Aldebaran, Rigel, and Altair dotted the star charts, testament to how Islamic astronomers preserved and expanded the knowledge from earlier cultures in great observatories from Baghdad to Samarkand. They recalculated planetary orbits, gave us terms like zenith and azimuth, and passed on algorithms for celestial navigation, showing that the torch of skywatching never dimmed but was handed from one civilization to the next. Not all astronomy was in the service of kings and calendars. Some was for navigation, literally guiding the journeys of people across vast distances. Perhaps nowhere is this more stirring than in the story of the Polynesians. Long ago, Polynesian navigators embarked on voyages across the expansive Pacific Ocean in double-hulled canoes, without compasses or maps in the modern sense. Instead, they carried a mental map of the night sky. They knew exactly where on the horizon each important star would rise and set, and at what time of year. By following the rising point of a given star, they could sail along a specific latitude, keeping their course true over hundreds of miles of open water. They memorized star paths, using a star compass that divided the horizon into segments marked by the rising and setting positions of key stars. These wayfinders also read subtle clues: the direction of ocean swells, the flight paths of seabirds at dawn, which reveal the direction of islands, and the tint of clouds that might reflect a lagoon from beyond the horizon. But it was the stars that formed the backbone of their navigation tradition. Around island fires, master navigators taught apprentices with chants and stories that encoded star knowledge, essentially entire charts of the night sky stored in memory. With this knowledge, Polynesians colonized virtually every habitable island in the Pacific, well before European explorers ever entered those waters. This feat, accomplished without modern instruments, using only the natural signs and the legacy of knowledge passed down, stands as one of humanity's great triumphs of practical astronomy. In recent decades, navigators have revived this tradition, sailing traditional canoes like Hokulea across long oceanic routes, using nothing but the stars and techniques their ancestors used, reproving the remarkable skill of those ancient wayfinders. Throughout the ancient world, whether guiding a caravan across a desert, determining when to plant crops, or choosing the date of a religious festival, people turned to the sky for answers. Astronomy was not a dry academic pursuit. It was woven into daily life and ritual. It provided a sense of order and predictability in a world full of uncertainties. By watching the heavens, early farmers knew when the rains were due and when spring truly began. By observing the subtle drift of the sunrise and sunset points along the horizon through the year, they devised solar calendars and aligned their monuments and even entire cities to the cardinal directions and solstice points. In many cultures, astronomy was deeply spiritual as well. The phrase "as above, so below" captured the belief that the cosmos and human society reflected one another. Kings and commoners alike felt that the regularity of the sky, sunrise, sunset, the return of winter and spring, was a sign that the universe had an underlying harmony and that human life should mirror that harmony. It's also important to remember that for much of history, astronomy and astrology were one and the same. The idea that the positions of planets and stars influence human destiny was virtually universal. The same learned people who plotted the course of the stars also cast horoscopes and interpreted celestial events as messages from the divine. A beautiful conjunction of Venus and Jupiter might be hailed as an omen of peace and plenty. A blood-red lunar eclipse could send shivers of dread through a kingdom, prompting rituals to appease the heavens. These beliefs, while mystical, actually spurred the development of observational techniques. After all, to cast an accurate horoscope or predict an eclipse, one first had to chart the sky with precision. We see echoes of these ancient astrological traditions today whenever someone talks about their star sign. Modern science has long separated astronomy from astrology, yet the cultural impact of those old beliefs lingers in language, folklore, and the human imagination. The traditions of sky-watching have proven remarkably enduring. Even in our modern era, we continue to celebrate celestial events much as our ancestors did. People gather at Stonehenge or Newgrange on solstice mornings, waiting for the sun to align just so, cheering as their forebears might have at the moment of illumination. Every year, millions around the world observe festivals that stem directly from astronomical markers. Lunar New Year is set by the phase of the moon. The Islamic holy month of Ramadan begins with the first crescent moon. The Jewish calendar intercalates months to keep Passover at spring equinox, and the Christian date of Easter is determined by the full moon of spring. In Japan, the Tanabata festival, originating from the weaver and cowherd star myth, celebrates the once-a-year meeting of two lover stars. We dance around maypoles, a distant echo of ancient spring rites marking the sun's strengthening, and light bonfires at Midsummer's Eve, continuing traditions that hail from a time when understanding the sky was essential for survival and spirit. For all the success ancient astronomers had in charting regular patterns, they were also confronted with wonders that defied prediction. A comet might appear without warning, sprouting a luminous tail and stirring awe or dread. A meteor shower could unexpectedly streak the sky with dozens of shooting stars. And in Earth's high latitudes, people occasionally witnessed a phenomenon so strange and beautiful, it must have felt like the heavens themselves were dancing. The auroras, the northern and southern lights. Unlike the steady cycles of sun, moon, and stars, these auroras came and went capriciously, painting the night with curtains of colour that stretched and waved as if alive. Imagine being an early inhabitant of Norway or Canada, looking up on a cold, clear night to see silent waves of green and red light rippling across the horizon. What could one think, except that spirits or gods were at play? The same sky watchers who could pinpoint the solstice or predict an eclipse were as much in awe of these dancing lights as anyone, and naturally they spun stories to explain the unexplainable. And so, even as astronomy advanced, the sense of mystery in the cosmos remained. The stage is set to explore one of the most captivating of those mysteries that marries scientific curiosity with mythic imagination. The shimmering auroras of the far north, the northern lights. In the stillness of a far northern night, a soft green ribbon of light unfolds across the sky. It begins as a faint glow low on the horizon, then stretches upward, growing brighter and more vibrant. Before long, the darkness is alive with undulating light, curtains of pale green, with hints of red along the edges and occasional flashes of violet. This silent celestial ballet is the aurora borealis, the northern lights. For someone witnessing it on a cold winter night, the experience can feel utterly dreamlike. The lights sway and ripple as if stirred by an invisible current. Sometimes they form a great arc from horizon to horizon. Sometimes they twist into a corona overhead, rays converging at a zenith like the spokes of a luminous wheel. Often they pulse and flicker, their intensity waxing and waning in a hypnotic rhythm. All the while, the surrounding world remains hushed. Snow-covered forests or frozen lakes lie quiet under the heavens, as if in awe of the spectacle above. It's easy to see why people believe these lights must be more than a mere atmospheric phenomenon. They inspire a sense of wonder, a touch of the mystical. Stand beneath the northern lights, and you might feel at once exhilarated and at peace, as if touched by something beyond everyday life. Throughout history, those lucky enough to behold the auroras created stories to make sense of them. In Scandinavia and across the Viking world, where the northern lights occasionally grace winter skies, the auroras were woven into the rich tapestry of Norse mythology. One old Norse tale held that the lights were reflections of the armor and shields of the Valkyries, the warrior maidens sent by Odin to collect the souls of heroes fallen in battle. When the Valkyries rode across the night sky on their ethereal horses, their armor glinting, it cast shimmering lights across the firmament. Thus, whenever the aurora flared, it was seen as a sign that these divine messengers were hard at work, gathering noble souls to carry to Valhalla, Odin's great hall. Other Norse legends imagined the aurora as the glow of the mythical Bifrost Bridge, a burning rainbow bridge that connected the mortal realm, Midgard, to Asgard, the realm of the gods. In this interpretation, the northern lights were literally a pathway for the souls of the fallen, guiding them to the afterlife in Valhalla. Some even whispered that the lights were the breath of brave warriors exhaling in the cold sky, or the glow from their swinging swords as they rode to the gods. Even in death and farewell, there was beauty and hope in that glowing sky. One can picture Viking families watching the lights dance and taking comfort, believing their loved ones were being escorted by the Valkyries, riding along that shimmering path to a place of honor and rest. Further east and north, the Sami people of Lapland and related Finno-Ugric cultures formed their own aurora lore. The Finnish word for the phenomenon, revontulet, means foxfires. According to a beloved legend, an enigmatic Arctic fox races across the tundra on long winter nights. As this magical creature runs, its bushy tail sweeps the snow up into the sky. The friction sparks the snowflakes, lighting up the heavens with flickers of green and orange. If you ever chase the fox, you might only catch a glimpse of its tail in the sparks that fly. Those sparks are the northern lights. It's a charming image that speaks to the playfulness of the aurora's motion, as well as its silence, for even a fox would make no sound while racing across the sky. In Finland to this day, the name revontulet carries this ancient echo, reminding people of a mythical fox whose trail blazes in the night. In the far northeast of North America, the indigenous Algonquin people told a gentle story about the lights. Their culture hero, Nanabojo, also known as Nana Bush, after finishing his work of creating the world, travelled far to the north. Wanting to reassure his people that he had not abandoned them, Nanabojo lit great fires in the northern sky. The flames of those distant fires manifested to his people as the aurora borealis. Whenever the Algonquins saw the serene glow of the lights, they understood it as a loving signal from Nanabojo, a reminder that he was thinking of them and watching over them from afar, even as he kept to the remote north. It was a message of comfort and connection across the vast distance. One can imagine Algonquin families centuries ago, standing outside their lodges, seeing the northern horizon glow softly and saying, "There is Nanabush's fire. He is letting us know he remembers us." It turned a mysterious phenomenon into something intimate and protective. Many Inuit communities, whose homelands sweep across the Arctic, where the auroras are often visible, also crafted unique interpretations. Some Inuit believed that the northern lights were the spirits of the departed, joyfully playing in the sky. One widely told tale describes the auroras as the spirits of children who died at birth or in infancy, laughing and dancing in the night. These spirits, full of innocence and delight, play a game, tossing a walrus skull back and forth as a ball, which creates the aurora's shifting patterns. In a variant of this story, the lights are the spirits of animals rather than humans, the souls of seals, salmon, deer, and beluga whales at play. To the living, this was a comforting thought, suggesting that the souls of the creatures they hunted were not gone, but cavorting above, happy and free, and perhaps blessing the people below. There's a bittersweet warmth to these ideas. The northern lights as a celestial playground where souls, relieved of earthly burdens, can frolic among the stars. Not every culture viewed the auroras as benevolent. In some places, the lights inspired awe mingled with apprehension. The indigenous people of Greenland, for example, sometimes regarded the aurora with dread, seeing in it the spirits of the dead or other supernatural forces that could be dangerous. Among certain First Nations of Canada, such as the Fox Nation in the Great Lakes region, the lights were a bad omen, a sign of restless spirits, perhaps the ghosts of fallen enemies preparing for revenge. Under such beliefs, the appearance of the aurora might cause communities to take caution. Children were hurried indoors, and elders offered quiet prayers to ward off evil. In the Arctic, some Inuit legends warn that one should never whistle at the northern lights. The reasoning was that if you attracted the attention of those spirits, they might swoop down, seize the unwary whistler, and carry them off into the sky. To this day, some older folks in Arctic communities recall being told as children not to sing, shout, or whistle at the aurora. Instead, some say if you clap your hands, the lights will draw away, perhaps out of respect or simply due to the sharp sound. One can easily imagine a group of travellers out on the sea ice generations ago, the sky suddenly alive with rippling lights, and them standing still, speaking in hushed tones, or not at all, mindful of the tales of what could happen if one offended the spirits overhead. These cautionary tales added a note of solemnity to an already otherworldly experience, reminding people that even great beauty can hold power and must be met with humility. Whether seen as playful spirits or ominous portents, the northern lights universally commanded deep respect. And beyond myth, they were always a source of profound wonder. Even today, now that we understand their true nature, standing under a bright auroral display can feel transcendent. The great astronomer Galileo Galilei gave the northern lights their scientific name, Aurora Borealis, in 1619, evoking Aurora, the Roman goddess of the dawn, and Boreas, the Greek name for the north wind. Together, Northern Dawn. The name itself is poetic, capturing the ethereal glow that might remind one of a false sunrise in the north. A century later, in the 1700s, Scientists like Edmund Halley, of Halley's Comet fame, began to suspect that the auroras were connected to Earth's magnetic field, noting how the lights tend to appear in high latitudes and often seem to follow the direction of magnetic field lines. But it took much longer to uncover the full story. Now we understand that the auroras are caused by electrically charged particles from the sun, little bits of the solar wind, that rain into Earth's upper atmosphere. The sun constantly emits a stream of high-energy particles, mostly electrons and protons. During solar storms or flares, vast numbers of these particles are hurled outward. When these charged particles reach Earth, our planet's magnetic field guides them toward the polar regions, where the field lines converge. There, roughly 100 to 200 kilometers above the ground, these solar particles collide with atoms and molecules in our upper atmosphere. In the process, they transfer energy to those atoms, exciting them. Almost immediately, the excited atoms release that energy as light. Oxygen, when excited, tends to emit a greenish light and a deep red at higher altitudes. Nitrogen can produce blues and purples. And so the sky itself, filled with invisible gases, begins to glow like the inside of a neon sign, nature's own neon, in enormous drapes across the night. The shimmering movements and folds of the aurora follow the invisible choreography of Earth's magnetic field lines and the gusts of particles from the sun, creating the appearance of curtains or rays that can shift and dance in moments. Knowing this scientific explanation, far from diminishing the aurora's beauty, can add another layer of appreciation. We realize that we are witnessing a grand electromagnetic interaction between the sun and Earth, a reminder that our planet, usually so solid beneath our feet, has an aura of its own, a magnetic halo that shields and interacts with cosmic winds. But even armed with science, when you stand under an aurora and the sky is alive with colour, you feel much like our ancestors did, awestruck and humbled. The lights seem alive. In those moments, it's easy to understand how people might sense spirits or divine forces in the aurora's glow. The experience transcends the ordinary. It touches on something sublime. On rare occasions, observers have even reported a faint sound accompanying the aurora, a kind of quiet crackling or clapping high above. For a long time, such accounts were treated skeptically, since the aurora occurs so high up that any sound should reach the ground long after the lights were gone. But recent research in Finland suggests that under certain conditions, auroras might indeed produce audible sounds. Temperature inversions can form a layer in the atmosphere that traps static electricity. When a strong aurora disturbs Earth's magnetic field, it can discharge that electricity near the ground in little sparks, creating soft sounds. So the legends of auroras that whisper or clap may have a grain of truth. Imagine, in the deep silence of a polar night, hearing a faint hiss or crackle overhead as green flames ripple across the stars. It's no wonder that folklore advised listening as well as watching, and spoke of the aurora almost as something alive and responsive. Some people even believed if you rang bells or made noises, the lights would move more vigorously in reply. To watch the northern lights is to witness nature in one of its most poetic moods. Little by little, the spectacle might fade, often as imperceptibly as it began. The great arcs thin into ghostly wisps, and then dissolve back into darkness. One moment you're under a sky alive with colour. The next, only the quiet stars remain, glittering in the cold. It's as if the curtain has fallen on a grand performance, leaving you in quiet reflection, wondering if it was all a dream. No two aurora displays are ever the same, and one can never predict exactly when they will come or how dazzling they will be. There is always a touch of mystery and luck, a feeling that one has received a gift from the heavens when the auroras appear. As our journey through these legendary tales and astronomical wonders comes to a pause, it's clear that the human fascination with the sky is endless. We've travelled from the birth of the universe in myth and science, through stories of stars and constellations, into the careful observations of ancient astronomers, and finally stood beneath the ethereal glow of the auroras. Yet the cosmos holds so much more. The night sky above is an open book of infinity, with countless pages still to be explored. Planets with their own mysteries, distant galaxies swirling far beyond our sight, and phenomena we have yet to even imagine. In the gentle darkness, under the quiet shimmer of starlight, and perhaps the fading memory of an aurora, we feel the pull to continue exploring. There is no real end to this story, only a peaceful interlude. The universe unfolds above us without haste, inviting our curiosity onward. And so, in a spirit of wonder and reverence, we let our minds drift comfortably among the stars, knowing that more tales and discoveries await just beyond the horizon of night, in the vast and mythic cosmos that surrounds us. In the stillness of a moonlit night, far from city lights, the sky unfurls as a tapestry of stars. A gentle breeze rustles through ancient trees, while above, countless points of light silently shimmer. The air is cool and still. Overhead, the Milky Way forms a gauzy river of light. A shooting star silently streaks by, here and gone, as if the sky itself breathes. It is a sight our ancestors knew intimately. Beneath this same cosmic canopy, they gazed upward in wonder and found pictures in the stars. Connecting dot to dot in the darkness, they traced the outlines of heroes and monsters, gods and fantastical beasts. With each flicker of starlight, they imagined a story being told in the heavens. Long before books or telescopes, the night sky was a grand storyteller. People gathered around flickering fires, eyes lifted to the darkness above, and listened as elders spun tales of the constellations. Over there, shining in the winter sky, 3 bright stars in a row form the belt of a mighty hunter. The legend speaks of Orion, proud and fearless. In one tale, Orion boasted no creature alive could escape his arrow. The earth goddess, angered by such arrogance, sent a tiny scorpion to challenge him. Orion fought bravely, but the scorpion's sting was deadly. The hunter fell, and as a tribute, the gods placed Orion among the stars. Even now, on clear evenings, we see Orion's form rising, forever fleeing the horizon, as Scorpius, the Scorpion constellation, chases him across the sky. Elsewhere above, a great bear ambles among the stars. Many cultures saw the pattern we call the Big Dipper as part of a bear's shape. To the Greeks, she was Callisto, a maiden transformed into a bear and set in the sky by Zeus. Her son, Ursa Minor, the little bear, follows close behind. To others, these same stars formed a wagon or a plough. Greek storytellers said Zeus swung the bears by their tails and threw them into the sky, which is why, they explained, these constellations have such long tails and never sink below the horizon. Yet no matter the name, the sight of that steady figure circling the North Star gave comfort and guidance. Night after night, travellers and sailors watched Ursa Major wheel around Polaris, using her to navigate across unknown lands and seas, guided by a myth made of stars. Near the Great Bears, a dragon's shape twists among faint stars. The constellation Draco coils around the North Star, as if guarding the celestial pole. Greek legend tells of a dragon placed in the heavens after being defeated by the hero Hercules, or in another tale by the goddess Athena during the great war of gods and giants. Because Draco's stars never set below the horizon in northern skies, ancient observers imagined the dragon kept eternal watch, circling the pole through every season. Elsewhere, an entire myth unfolds in adjoining constellations. The princess Andromeda, a sprinkle of faint stars, lies chained in the sky next to Cetus the sea monster. According to Greek law, Andromeda was to be sacrificed to this monster as punishment for her mother's vanity. But the hero Perseus, whose constellation is nearby, swooped in on the winged horse Pegasus, also shining above, and rescued her. To honor the tale, the gods placed all of them in the heavens, Andromeda and Perseus forever facing each other across the night, with Cetus lurking below and Pegasus gliding beside. In this way, an entire legendary drama is written in the stars. High in the sky arcs a band of shimmering light, the Milky Way, a pale river of innumerable stars. Ancient civilizations wondered what this glowing band could be. Some imagined it as milk from a goddess, spilled across the heavens. Others saw it as the pathway of souls, or a celestial river, dividing realms. In the Far East, the Milky Way was seen as the silver river of heaven. And there, separated by its shining waters, two bright stars faced each other from opposite banks. The story is told of the weaver girl and the cowherd, lovers in Chinese legend represented by the stars Vega and Altair. Forbidden to be together, the two were placed in the sky with the Milky Way between them as an eternal barrier. But one night, each year, a bridge of magpies forms across the stars, allowing the lovers to meet for just a few precious hours. On that night, people on Earth celebrate Kishi, gazing up at Vega and Altair with hope and longing, remembering that even in the vastness of space, love finds a way. Across the globe, different cultures filled the heavens with their own heroes and creatures. Ancient Egyptians looked up and saw their gods among the stars. The constellation of Orion was Osiris, the god of the afterlife, and the bright star Sirius was sacred to Isis and signaled the life-giving floods of the Nile. In the skies of the Pacific, Polynesian navigators memorized star patterns and paths, treating the night sky as a map to voyage between distant islands. Aboriginal Australians saw not just stars, but the darkness between them, tracing the shape of a great emu in the Milky Way's glowing band. To them, this celestial emu's appearance in the sky signaled the time of year for finding its eggs. In South America, the Inca imagined llamas and serpents in the stars, tied to seasonal rains and harvests. No matter the land or language, people found order and wisdom written in the arrangements of lights above. Constellations became the milestones of seasons and the canvas of folklore. As the year turned, new patterns rose at dusk and others sank in the west. Each arrival heralded changes on Earth. When the 7 bright stars of the Pleiades cluster reappeared in the dawn sky, some cultures knew planting time was near. When they vanished with the sun, harvest time had come. In Greek myth, those sparkling Pleiades were 7 sisters pursued by Orion the hunter, who could never catch them. To sailors, They were a welcome signal that winter's storms would soon yield to calmer seas. Over centuries, star patterns guided rituals and calendars. The sky was a clock and an oracle. Its constellations consulted for guidance and meaning. Even the zodiac, the band of constellations through which the sun and planets appear to travel, became a celestial stage of myth and prophecy. Each sign, from brave Leo the lion to wise Athena's owl in Aquarius, was associated with traits and legends. People looked to their star signs seeking hints of personality or destiny, as if the heavens above could reflect the lives below. While modern science sees mere balls of gas burning at unimaginable distances, to ancient eyes these lights were alive with symbolism. A scorpion in the sky could signal coming heat. A pair of fish might bring rains. The cosmos was a mirror of earthly affairs. Under the dark vault of night, one can almost hear echoes of those old stories. Picture an ancient mariner steering by the stars, whispering a prayer to the constellation of his patron god. Imagine a child in a desert village, eyes wide, watching the great hunter Orion rise, knowing the tale of his duel with the scorpion by heart. These stories gave the night sky warmth and familiarity. They offered comfort that the unknown darkness overhead was not chaotic, but filled with characters and dramas, a cosmic theatre with meaning and order. Yet, even as they wove these rich tapestries of lore, the ancients sensed there was more in the heavens than they could see. Between the bright stars lay darkness and mystery. What creatures or forces lurked beyond the reach of their sight? They told of dragons and serpents among the stars, like Draco, coiled around the celestial pole, and imagined the sky itself as a great dome filled with wonder. Little could they suspect the true nature of the cosmos, stretching far beyond their myths. The night sky's familiar figures were just the beginning. Beyond the gleam of Orion's belt and the dipper of the Great Bear, deeper secrets awaited. Secrets no legend had yet captured, mysteries invisible to any earthly gaze. In that ancient innocence, they could not know that some realities in the sky would outshine even the wildest of their stories. As their eyes traced the patterns of gods and beasts, unseen abysses and unseen matter lay hidden in the void, waiting for future eyes and minds to discover them. Unaware of black holes or galaxies or invisible forces, early stargazers created meaning from the visible stars. They felt connected to the cosmos through these tales. Constellations were both map and memory, tying humanity to the heavens with threads of narrative. Even now, when we know the stars are suns and the cosmos is far larger than our forebears imagined, we still find ourselves enchanted on a clear night. We feel a kinship with those ancient observers. Our scientific understanding has grown, but the constellations still twinkle with the enchantment of myth. They invite us to dream and wonder, just as they did for generations long past. Imagine yourself on a warm summer night, far from city lights, lying on the grass and looking up. The Milky Way splashes across the sky as a faint silvery band. There's Orion with his belt, just as he appears in ancient lore. There's Ursa Major, the Great Bear, eternally circling the pole. In that moment, you are connected across time with all those who ever gazed upward. The scientific truth of those stars as distant suns doesn't diminish their mystique. If anything, knowing what they are and how far they shine adds to the wonder. You might find yourself telling a friend the old stories of the hunter and the scorpion, or the lovers separated by the Milky Way. keeping the ancient imagination alive in the present. Under that dome of night, the boundary between past and present, myth and reality, blurs into a single feeling of awe. As we lie under a sky peppered with starry characters, a hero with a sword, a queen on her throne, a scorpion poised to strike, we sense both the comfort of familiar stories and the pull of the unknown. For beyond the friendly patterns recognized for millennia, the universe holds deeper mysteries that our ancestors could only have imagined in tales. And as the night grows late, and those old star figures slowly drift westward, a question arises unspoken. What lies hidden in the darkness beyond the stars we see? The answer to that question would unfold only with time and curiosity, as the veil of night was slowly lifted by science, revealing wonders and enigmas far greater than any ancient myth. The journey from myth to reality was just beginning, and the cosmos was about to grow infinitely larger and stranger. Knowledge expanded our view of the cosmos, revealing phenomena that our ancestors never could have imagined. In the darkness between the familiar stars, new wonders emerged, strange and powerful, like something out of a dream. Among the most startling of these discoveries were the black holes, invisible stellar remnants that defy understanding. They are born in the final death throes of massive stars, in explosions bright enough to briefly outshine a whole galaxy. After a giant star has burned its fuel, it collapses under its own weight. Imagine a sun many times larger than ours, imploding into itself, squeezing its mass into an unimaginably small space. The star's light is snuffed out, and in its place, a darkness remains. A gravitational abyss so deep and dense that nothing, not even light, can escape its grasp. What would it be like to approach such a thing? Drifting in the silent vacuum of space, you might see the stars behind you warp and swirl as if reflected in a funhouse mirror. A black circle lies ahead, outlined by a faint halo of light, the last rays of doomed matter spiraling inward. This is the edge of a black hole, the event horizon, a point of no return. Cross that boundary, and there is no coming back. Time and space themselves become distorted. To an outside observer, you would appear frozen at the edge, trapped in time, while from your perspective, you plunge onward. In those final moments, gravity stretches you like taffy, an eerie elongation often called spaghettification. But long before you could truly comprehend such a fate, the darkness would claim you. Everything that falls into a black hole, stars, planets, gas, or light, vanishes from our universe, swallowed by an ultimate cosmic enigma. To your eyes, as you neared the boundary, the universe behind you would start to distort. Starlight from the outside world would bend into a ring around the black hole, and any light you send out would curve back inward. Colors might redden as the gravity drains energy from escaping light. Your sense of time would change too. Your heartbeat might feel normal, but an outside observer would see you slow to a crawl, frozen near the horizon. For centuries, black holes were just speculation, a shadowy idea on the fringes of physics. Not even the greatest storytellers of old imagined a monster quite like this, a creature made not of flesh, but of gravity, a pit in the fabric of reality. And yet these monsters are real. In fact, the notion of such light-trapping objects had been proposed as far back as the late 18th century by a few visionaries, but only in the 20th century did Einstein's theories provide the framework to truly understand them. For years, black holes remained theoretical, until the 1960s, when astronomers detected powerful X-ray emissions from an unseen source, as if a visible star were orbiting an invisible, massive companion. Astronomers eventually named that mysterious source Cygnus X1, and it went down in history as the first strong black hole candidate. It was the first strong evidence that black holes were not just math and imagination, but out there in the darkness, silently feasting on matter and light. Quietly, they lurk in the galaxies. Some are tiny compared to the vastness of space, perhaps only a few miles across, hiding where a massive star once shone. Others are incomprehensibly large, millions or even billions of times the mass of our Sun. These supermassive black holes sit in the hearts of galaxies, including our own Milky Way. At our galaxy's center, behind veils of interstellar dust, lies a dark colossus. We cannot see it directly, but we have observed stars whipping around an apparently empty spot at incredible speeds, like bees around an invisible hive. Only something immensely massive yet invisible could cause that. It is a black hole, as heavy as 4 million suns, quietly influencing the orbits of all those stars. On rare occasions, it might snare an unwary star, or a cloud of gas that drifts too close, slurping part of it in, and flaring brightly as the rest of the unlucky material is shredded and heated, emitting a ghostly glow before disappearing forever. Even more titanic black holes reside at the centers of distant galaxies, some devouring matter so voraciously that they blaze as the brightest objects in the universe. We call those quasars, the brilliant beacons powered by feeding black holes in young galaxies billions of light years away. But most of the time, black holes themselves emit no light. For generations, we could only infer their presence from the motions of stars or gas in orbit around nothingness. It was like detecting a predator in a dark forest, only by the rustling it caused among the trees. Only recently did humanity manage to capture something extraordinary, an image of a black hole's shadow. By coordinating telescopes across the globe, scientists observed the faint glow of superheated gas around a distant black hole's edge. Against that glow, a circular silhouette emerged, the imprint of the event horizon itself. Seeing that dark circle, that shadow cast upon glowing gas, confirmed what was once merely theory. It was a humbling sight, the eye of the void staring back. These gravitational beasts also announce themselves through subtle vibrations of space. When two black holes collide in the far depths of the universe, they merge in utter darkness. Yet the violence of that merger makes the very fabric of spacetime ripple outward. In 2015, instruments on Earth felt those ripples, gravitational waves, from a collision that happened over 1 billion years ago. We listened, and the universe itself rang like a distant bell in the night. It was the faintest murmur, but it told of black holes dancing and uniting in a place so far away we cannot see it in any other way. It was a triumphant confirmation that even invisible collisions could be detected, fulfilling a prediction of Einstein's theory. For the first time, humanity was not just watching the cosmos, but feeling its vibrations. Even in silence and darkness, these hidden giants make their presence known through the trembling of creation. But black holes are not the only invisible mystery out there. Lurking everywhere, permeating the cosmos, is something even more elusive. While black holes hide in specific places, this other enigma is woven throughout space itself. It has no bright face, no visible form. We call it dark matter, not because it is dark like shadows, but because it does not emit or reflect light at all. It is utterly transparent and invisible. And yet, it outweighs all the stars and planets we can see. It surrounds galaxies and clusters of galaxies in enormous halos, like a cosmic veil. We cannot hold it in our hands or shine a light on it, but we know it's there from its gravitational pull. The discovery of dark matter was a slow realization, a gathering mystery through the 20th century. Astronomers studying galaxies noticed something puzzling. The outer regions of galaxies were rotating too fast. One pioneering astronomer, charting the speeds of stars in our neighbouring Andromeda galaxy, found that even stars at its far edges were orbiting just as fast as those near the centre. By rights, they should have been flung away, but they weren't. It was clear that some invisible matter must be providing the gravitational glue. By rights, with only the gravity of visible stars and gas, those distant stars should be moving more slowly, or else fly off into space. But they weren't. It was as if an unseen mass was gluing the galaxy together, providing extra gravity to bind the fast-moving stars. In galaxy after galaxy, the same pattern emerged. Invisible mass, far more than what our eyes could account for, holding everything in. Earlier, in the 1930s, an astronomer had noticed galaxy clusters behaving similarly. Galaxies orbiting each other as though some hidden matter vastly outweighed all the visible stars. Over time, these clues became undeniable. There was something out there, a substantial something we could not see. It vastly outweighs normal matter, perhaps by a factor of 5 or more. Imagine that. For every slice of the cosmos made of the familiar atoms that build stars, planets, and people, there are 5 slices made of something else entirely, something that passes through us unnoticed. What is this shadowy substance? Scientists still aren't sure. They have given it a name, but naming a mystery is not the same as solving it. Some think dark matter could be an exotic particle, filling space like a sea of invisible grains. Others wonder if it might be hidden in plain sight as black holes or other objects we've failed to detect. So far, every attempt to directly find a dark matter particle with sensitive detectors deep underground or in space has come up empty. Physicists have built detectors in deep underground vaults, shielded from cosmic rays, hoping a rare dark matter particle might collide with an atom and reveal itself. So far, those experiments have recorded only silence and hints that evaporate on closer scrutiny. Dark matter neither shines nor absorbs. It is like a ghost. Yet we see its influence everywhere we look in the universe. We see how galaxies form and cluster under its guidance, as though it were an invisible scaffold on which the cosmos is built. Gravitational lensing, the bending of light by gravity, reveals massive, unseen structures when distant galaxies' light is distorted on its journey to us. Those distortions map out something large and hidden in between, like seeing the shape of an invisible creature by its shadow on the wall. That creature is dark matter, making its presence known indirectly. Recent simulations of cosmic evolution suggest dark matter formed a vast invisible web across the young universe, and ordinary matter flowed along its filaments, collecting into galaxies at the densest knots. Without this hidden framework, the galaxies and clusters we observe might never have coalesced. In essence, dark matter provided the scaffolding for the luminous cosmos. Contemplate for a moment the implications. Most of the matter in the universe is invisible, composed of unknown ingredients. All the stars, planets, glowing nebulae, and dust, everything we can see with our telescopes, amount to only a small fraction of what's truly out there. We find ourselves living in a cosmos where the familiar is the exception and the mysterious is the rule. It is both humbling and thrilling. Indeed, discovering that the majority of our universe is invisible to us was a profound shift. Humans, once guided solely by visible light, had to accept that reality extends far beyond our sensory intuitions. The cosmos became at once more daunting and more enchanting, a place where even empty space conceals mass and power. As we forged into the science of the unseen, our reverence for the mysteries of the universe only deepened. The ancients who told of unseen forces and spirits between the stars were, in a way, not entirely wrong. Something unseen does dwell out there, shaping the cosmos on a grand scale. In a poetic sense, these invisible influences are like the natural embodiment of the spirits and gods our ancestors imagined. Unseen forces that, while devoid of intention, still rule the cosmos behind the scenes. We have traded mythical explanations for scientific ones, yet the awe we feel in realizing there are ghosts in the universe, be they dark matter or black holes, is not so different from the awe of ancient stargazers sensing divinity in the dark. But unlike the capricious gods of myth, this dark matter moves in accordance with nature's laws. Even if we have yet to understand those laws fully, we now know that we are surrounded by the unseen. Black holes, hidden in the darkness, and dark matter, spread throughout space, are two of the great invisible players in the cosmic story. They remind us that reality is not limited to what our eyes can catch. For a species that once interpreted every celestial light as a god or animal, it is a profound shift to recognize how much lies beyond sight and even beyond imagination. And yet, even as we come to terms with these invisible wonders, the cosmos occasionally startles us with phenomena that are visible, sudden, and dramatic. Not all messages from the universe are hidden. Some arrive blazing across our skies, capturing our attention in an instant. From the silent, unseen realms of black holes and dark matter, our journey now turns to these luminous visitors, the comets and meteors that streak through our night, bringing both beauty and portent. In contrast to the steady stars and invisible forces, these are transient messengers, here one moment and gone the next, leaving us to wonder at their meaning. One moment we gaze at a quiet night, and the next, a streak of light or a ghostly tale appears, as if the universe itself were writing across the sky. These celestial messengers bridge the gap between myth and science, between superstition and understanding, and they carry with them the age-old question that greets anything unexpected in the heavens. What does it mean? Imagine a quiet night thousands of years ago. A farmer finishes his work under the usual glitter of stars, expecting nothing more than the familiar sky. But this night is different. A new light appears overhead, faint at first, then growing into a brilliant streak that stretches across the heavens. He watches in awe and dread as a ghostly tail fans out behind a bright head, a celestial broom sweeping the stars. Word spreads across the village. A comet has arrived. There is no warning, no pattern to its coming. To those ancient observers, it's as if a deity has suddenly written a message in the sky. But what does it portend? Fear and wonder mingle as people gather to gaze at this apparition. The night is no longer silent. It hums with anxious whispers and prayers. Throughout history, comets have evoked deep unease and fascination. Unlike the steady stars or the predictable wanderings of planets, comets burst onto the scene unexpectedly. They blaze for days or weeks and then vanish into the dark, sometimes not to return for generations. This unpredictable nature led many to see them as messengers or omens. To ancient Chinese astronomers, who meticulously recorded the skies, comets were broom stars sweeping away the old order. Their records show that whenever a comet appeared, the imperial court grew nervous, fearing it signaled the displeasure of heaven or a coming upheaval. In Europe, comets were often viewed as heralds of doom. Medieval chronicles describe hairy stars suddenly lighting up the night and sowing terror. The long tail of a comet resembled streaming hair or a fiery sword, and each shape carried meaning. One might be seen as the unkempt hair of a weeping woman in the sky, a sign of mourning and death. Another looked like a flaming blade, an omen of war and bloodshed. Under such portents, kings consulted advisors and common folk prayed for mercy, believing some cosmic reckoning was at hand. One famous case etched in history occurred in the year 1066. As England braced for invasion, a bright comet appeared in the April sky. The fiery beacon was so vivid, it was said you could see it even at twilight. King Harold of England reportedly took its appearance as a dire sign. And indeed, later that year, under that comet's glare, he lost his kingdom at the Battle of Hastings. Medieval chroniclers noted how people in the streets knelt or trembled at the sight of that fiery sign in the sky. The Bayeux tapestry, crafted soon after, depicts a blazing star in the sky and fearful men pointing to it, labeling it as a portent. Across the world, similar tales abound. In ancient Rome, shortly after the assassination of Julius Caesar, a great comet shone for 7 days. The Roman people gazed at it during games honoring Caesar and took it as a sign that their fallen leader's soul had ascended to the heavens. They called it Caesar's comet, believing it confirmed that Caesar was now among the gods. In the Andes, records tell of a comet that appeared just before Spanish conquerors arrived, an omen of impending change and destruction. To the Inca, the sudden new star with a glowing tail must have seemed like a warning from the sky of the turmoil to come. Not all reactions to comets were despairing. Some saw in them divine messages or wonders without dread. In some traditions, these celestial wanderers were even welcomed. A meteorite that once fell from the sky was enshrined in a holy city and venerated as a gift from the heavens, a literal piece of the cosmos to be honored. And in parts of the Islamic world, shooting stars were seen as divine arrows, heavenly weapons fired by angels to chase away evil spirits, turning what might have been a frightening omen into a sign that the cosmos was keeping demons at bay. But more often than not, a bright comet was a source of deep anxiety. Even as late as the 16th century, educated men trembled at their sight. In 1456, a particularly fearsome comet, one that we now know was Halley's Comet, making one of its regular visits, blazed overhead. It had a menacing appearance, and at that time the Ottoman Turks were at the gates of Europe. Pope Calixtus III, struggling to rally Christendom, reportedly declared the comet an instrument of the devil and ordered prayers to ward it off. Of course, the comet eventually departed on its own schedule, leaving people to wonder what havoc, if any, it had truly foretold. Centuries later, even into the early 20th century, comets could spark panic. In 1910, as Halley's Comet approached again, newspapers stirred fear that its tail's gases might poison the Earth's atmosphere. Many bought comet pills and gas masks in hysteria, though nothing of the sort occurred. Coincidentally, that same 1910 visit of Halley's Comet marked the death of the famous author Mark Twain, who had been born during its previous appearance in 1835. Twain had jokingly predicted he would go out with the comet. And indeed he did. A quirk of fate that further cemented Halley's Comet in the public imagination. Such was the lingering power of these celestial visitors to frighten and captivate. Meteors, those swift streaks of light often called shooting stars, also carried omens in the human imagination. Usually they are brief and less imposing than a comet, like heavenly sparks that fly and fizzle in seconds. Still, in a superstitious age, even a sudden fireball tearing across the night could send hearts racing. Some cultures thought shooting stars were souls crossing the skies, or gods casting glances earthward. The common tradition of wishing upon a shooting star springs from the old belief that such rare glimmers were special, perhaps a sign that the gods were momentarily paying attention. If you made a wish quickly, they just might hear you. But meteors could be harbingers as well. Ancient Greeks told of a meteorite that fell in broad daylight around 467 BC, a massive rock from the heavens, startling all who saw it. The philosopher Anaxagoras, ahead of his time, suggested it came from outer space, a chunk knocked off the moon or another celestial body. Most people, however, saw it as a prodigy, a warning from the gods. In other times and places, bright meteors or fireballs were interpreted as divine arrows shot toward Earth in anger, or as dragons breathing fire across the sky. When meteor showers graced the sky, as when hundreds of shooting stars rained down on a single night, some feared the very heavens were falling. One early American account from the 19th century describes terrified observers during an intense meteor storm, praying and shouting in the belief that Judgment Day had arrived, as the sky seemed to be collapsing in a cascade of fire. On quieter nights, however, meteors also brought a sense of magic. A lone streak would draw oohs and ahs, and perhaps a quick prayer or wish. They were the most democratic of omens. Anyone might see one, no telescope or priest needed. A poor shepherd watching his flock could witness a meteor and feel it was a sign meant just for him, whether of good fortune or a reminder of the heavens above. In contrast, comets were grand events that everyone would hear about, interpreted by kings and scholars. Yet both comets and meteors reinforced a central idea. Events in the sky were connected to events on Earth. The cosmos was not distant and separate. It was engaged in a dialogue with humanity, sending signals, warnings, or blessings across the gulfs of space. As our understanding grew, these interpretations began to change. The skies were slowly demystified. By the 17th and 18th centuries, some brave thinkers started to suspect that comets were not divine portents at all, but natural objects following natural laws. Edmund Halley famously calculated that the comet appearing in 1682 was the same one recorded in 1531 and 1607, returning periodically. When his predicted return of that comet came true in 1758, it was a triumph of reason over superstition. Comets became seen as wandering members of the solar system, icy dirt balls that travel vast distances from the outskirts of our sun's domain, igniting glorious tails of gas and dust when warmed by the sun's rays. Meteors, too, found a scientific explanation. Shooting stars are not stars at all, but tiny bits of cosmic debris burning up in our atmosphere. Far from heralding famine or war, a meteor shower is the Earth innocently sweeping through the dusty trail of a long-gone comet. Yet even today, something of the old mystique remains when we behold these sights. Knowing what they are has not stripped away their beauty or emotional punch. If anything, it adds another layer of wonder. Consider a bright comet that graces the sky in our times. People around the world go out at night just to marvel at its otherworldly glow, many aware that they are witnessing a visitor born in the early days of the solar system, a traveller that perhaps last passed by when our ancestors were young. There is a profound connectedness in that moment, across time, across generations. We stand under the same sky as the fearful medieval peasants and the curious ancient astronomers, but we greet the comet with understanding and excitement rather than terror. We take photographs. We send spacecraft to study it up close, even as we still make a quiet wish or ponder cosmic questions under its tail. In 2014, a European space mission even landed a tiny robotic probe on a comet's surface, directly sampling the primordial ice and dust, a far cry from the days when comets were seen only as omens of doom. Meteors, too, enchant us. On a clear August night, when the Perseid meteors stream from the direction of Perseus, people now camp out under the stars specifically to watch the celestial show. Each flash across the sky elicits gasps and cheers. We know these are particles, often no larger than grains of sand, vaporizing in a blaze of heat as they strike the upper atmosphere. And yet, when you see one, logic falls away for a second. You feel a thrill, a sense of being touched by something beyond the ordinary. Perhaps you reflexively whisper a wish, carrying on a tradition as old as civilization. In a sense, comets and meteors have always been celestial messengers. Only now we interpret the message differently. Instead of omens of doom, they tell us about the workings of the cosmos. From them, we have learned how our solar system formed, and even how life might have been sown on Earth. Scientists speculate that comets long ago delivered water and organic molecules to our young planet, seeding the ingredients for oceans and life. Meteorites, those pieces of rock that survive their fiery descent to actually reach the ground, are studied in laboratories as precious samples of other worlds. Some meteorites have revealed amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, suggesting that the basic chemistry of life is spread throughout space. In these rocks and ice balls, we read stories of creation, like pages from a book left drifting between the planets. Still, factual knowledge has not completely dispelled the sense of magic. A comet hanging in the night remains a breathtaking sight that stirs something primal in us. A meteor slicing through the dark still feels like a moment of grace, granted by the universe. We can imagine how they terrified and inspired our ancestors, because deep down, we feel a whisper of that same emotion. The difference now is that we no longer fear these celestial visitors as harbingers of catastrophe. We welcome them as reminders of how vast and interconnected our universe is. They are a bridge between the ordinary and the sublime, a prompt to lift our gaze upward and remember that we are part of a much larger story playing out in the cosmos. When a new comet is discovered and news spreads that it will become visible, millions of people instinctively step outside on clear nights to seek it. There is a communal excitement, an echo of the ancient days when entire villages would turn out to see what the gods had placed in the sky. Now we chase these wonders actively, driving to dark countryside locales, peering through binoculars or telescopes, sharing pictures and awe on the internet. The fright may be gone, but the wonder remains, perhaps even deepened by understanding. Each comet or meteor that graces our skies reminds us that the heavens still hold surprises. As the glowing tail fades and the last meteor flares out, the sky returns to its normal stars. But we are left with a sense of connection to the cosmos, as if those celestial messengers whispered a secret to us before departing. We have listened and learned from them. Yet they also leave us with new questions and a renewed respect for the sky above. And while these messages were visible and dramatic, not all cosmic communications announce themselves with such spectacle. Some are subtle, hidden in the very silence of space, discernible only with sensitive instruments and a curious mind. As the fiery omens of old fade into memory, humanity has begun to tune in to whispers from the cosmos, faint signals and mysterious pulses that reach us from the depths of space, hinting at phenomena and perhaps intelligences beyond our world. From comets blazing in the sky, we turn now to signals dancing in the dark, the unexplained, enigmatic messages from the stars that challenge us to listen even more closely to the universe's quiet voice. Under a moonless sky, a massive radio telescope stands quietly in a remote valley. Its wide dish stares up into the cosmos, listening. Instead of visible light, it hears the universe in radio waves, those invisible murmurs and whispers that travel across the void. In the control room, an astronomer sits in dim light, a row of monitors glowing with graphs and numbers. Mostly, the readings are monotonous, the cosmic static of distant stars, the hiss of background radiation, occasional flares from the sun. Hours and hours of nothing extraordinary. But the astronomer continues to listen with patience and hope. For now and then, the universe surprises us with a sound that defies expectation. Decades ago, one such surprise came as a regular, rhythmic pulse. Like the steady ticking of a celestial clock, it arrived from somewhere deep in space. The pulses were so precise, a beat every 1 1/3 seconds, that the young scientist who first recorded them was astonished. At first, she and her colleagues wondered if it could possibly be a signal from an intelligent civilization, a beacon blinking out a message across the stars. Half-jokingly, they labelled the source LGM-1 for Little Green Men 1. They kept this nickname secret initially, cautious and incredulous. As more data came in, the picture became clearer. The signal wasn't made by aliens at all, but by nature. It was the first discovery of a pulsar, a rapidly spinning neutron star, the collapsed core of an exploded star, sweeping beams of radio waves like a lighthouse in the cosmic sea. The little green men were nowhere to be found in that signal. But the episode revealed how ready our imaginations were to find a voice from the darkness, and how the universe often had its own exotic stories to tell. Still, the dream of hearing from distant intelligences remained alive. In the 1960s and 70s, as radio astronomy blossomed, scientists began deliberately searching the skies for anything that might be a deliberate communication. The vastness of space remained largely quiet. But one summer night in 1977, a strange signal was caught by a radio telescope at Ohio State University, nicknamed Big Ear. It was just a burst, lasting a mere 72 seconds as the telescope swept past. But it was powerful, and unlike any background source they'd seen. It came in on a frequency near 1420 MHz, a frequency naturally emitted by hydrogen, but also one that some argued an alien civilization might choose for calling across the stars. When the data printout was reviewed, the signal's intensity stood out sharply among the dull columns of numbers, so much so that the researcher on duty scribbled one word next to it: wow. This became the famous wow signal. It tantalized astronomers and the public alike. Here was a signal that for once did not have an immediate, obvious explanation. It wasn't an error or a known quirk of the telescope. It seemed to truly come from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, from somewhere far beyond our solar system. And yet, despite many attempts to find it again, the signal never repeated. It remains a singular event, a cosmic one-hit wonder. Was it a transmission from another civilization? A natural phenomenon we had never observed before? Or just an incredible coincidence of interstellar noise? To this day, no one knows for sure. The wow signal hangs in scientific lore as a tantalizing question mark, encouraging us to keep listening and keep exploring, because perhaps the next whisper from the stars might be the one that answers back. As years passed, the search for signals continued, mostly yielding only the reassuring silence of a vast universe. But then, in the early 2000s, we stumbled upon another mystery. Scouring through telescope data, astronomers found odd bursts, incredibly brief flashes of radio energy lasting only milliseconds, that seemed to come from deep space outside our galaxy. At first, only one was found, almost by accident in old recordings, a burst so strong yet so quick that it was initially thought to be a glitch. When this first burst was noticed, it was so unexpected that the researchers assumed it might be a mistake. They scoured the data for errors and even wondered if a secret military radar or a lightning strike could have mimicked it. But nothing mundane could account for the burst's signature. It clearly had travelled billions of years to reach us, and yet we had no idea what had made it. But as telescopes improved and more data poured in, more of these fast radio bursts were detected. They appeared at random positions in the sky, usually never to be heard again in the same spot. For a moment, each one would release as much energy as the sun does in a year, but concentrated into a millisecond blip. The very idea of something in the universe capable of such a feat was staggering. What could cause such a burst? A star exploding? 2 neutron stars colliding? A magnetar, an exotic neutron star with an ultra-strong magnetic field, unleashing a flare? Or something even stranger, like the powered beacon of a far-off technology? The phenomena defied easy explanation. Then came another surprise. A few of these bursts were heard to repeat. One in particular burst again and again, though unpredictably, allowing astronomers eventually to pinpoint its source in a small distant galaxy. This was a clue. Perhaps these signals came from some kind of extreme cosmic object, rather than a one-time cataclysm. Yet even with a location, the exact cause remained unknown. With each new detection, new puzzles arose. One burst showed a periodic rhythm in its series of flashes, a hint that something was ticking or orbiting, adding to the intrigue. We gave them a straightforward name, fast radio bursts, or FRBs, but understanding them has been anything but straightforward. Dozens have been recorded by now, and although a leading theory suggests powerful eruptions from magnetars, there is much we still don't understand. Interestingly, in 2020, astronomers managed to pinpoint a fast radio burst originating from within our own Milky Way galaxy and traced it to a highly magnetic neutron star, a magnetar, confirming that such objects can indeed produce these bursts. Yet that one example, relatively weak by FRB standards, may not explain the most distant and powerful bursts, especially those that repeat in puzzling ways. It's possible that multiple causes are at play, and nature still hides some surprises behind these ephemeral flashes. The bursts arrive with no warning from random corners of the sky, like cosmic alarm bells briefly ringing and then falling silent. They remind us that even now, the universe has its sudden alarms and secret conversations that we've only just begun to eavesdrop on. Not all mysterious signals turn out to be from the depths of space, though. Our own planet can play tricks. There have been occasions when astronomers thought they'd found something extraordinary, only to discover a very human source behind it. One famous false alarm was nicknamed the periton, strange radio blips that looked a bit like FRBs, but were found at an observatory in Australia at odd times. After much head-scratching, the culprit was finally revealed: a microwave oven at the facility, which, when opened prematurely, emitted a brief radio pulse that the telescope picked up. A mundane kitchen appliance had for a while masqueraded as an enigmatic cosmic signal. Such stories are humorous reminders that the frontier of discovery can sometimes overlap with the prosaic details of daily life. They temper our excitement with caution, teaching scientists to double-check, to rule out every earthly interference, and to remain patiently skeptical even as they stay open to wonder. Meanwhile, real unexplained signals do occasionally whisper through our detectors, sparking excitement. In recent years, a peculiar radio signal seemed to emanate from our Sun's nearest stellar neighbour, Proxima Centauri. For a time, it eluded explanation and raised eyebrows. Could it be a communication from a planet orbiting our nearest star? Further investigation eventually identified earthly interference as the source, dashing the alien hypothesis. Disappointments like this are part of the process. But the possibility of a true hello from an extraterrestrial intelligence, however slim, keeps us watching and listening. Around the world, SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, projects AIM radio ears at the sky, scanning millions of frequencies for something that stands out from natural cosmic noise. We have even tried to send our own signals out into the void. In 1974, astronomers used a radio telescope in Arecibo to transmit a simple pictorial message toward a distant star cluster, a shout into the cosmic wilderness that will take 25,000 years to reach its destination. And aboard the Voyager probes launched in the 1970s, we placed golden records with sounds and images of Earth, casting bottles into the galactic ocean on the slim chance someone might find them ages hence. These efforts may never be answered, but they reflect a deep human urge to connect with whatever other minds may dwell in the stars. Most nights, they hear nothing but the quiet hiss of stars and galaxies. But that silence itself is a canvas for hope. At any moment, it could be broken by a signal that nature alone cannot explain. Beyond the search for intelligent messages, the cosmos itself emits signals we struggle to decipher. Mysterious flashes of gamma rays, X-ray bursts from unknown sources, even the occasional neutrino, a nearly undetectable particle, arriving from a distant supernova, all constitute messages in a language we are still learning to read. Each one tells us something about a dramatic event or exotic object. Often the message is a riddle. A few years ago, an otherwise ordinary star in our galaxy began dimming in bizarre, uneven ways, leading to wild conjectures. One hypothesis was that perhaps an alien megastructure was orbiting the star and blocking its light, while later evidence suggested clouds of dust or swarms of comets were a more likely cause. The episode showed how even a simple fluctuation in starlight can ignite our imagination. In 2019, detectors on Earth picked up an incredibly high-energy burst of neutrinos that seemed to come from the heart of a distant galaxy. What created it? A supermassive black hole feasting on matter? A hypernova? A colossal stellar explosion? We gather the clues, but the story remains incomplete. Even the background hiss of the universe has secrets. A few years ago, scientists using a balloon-based instrument detected an unusually strong radio glow permeating the sky, a phenomenon nicknamed the space roar for its surprising intensity. It was far louder than expected from all known galaxies and radio sources, and to this day, this cosmic static remains only partly understood. Through all these, one theme persists. The universe is not a silent, inanimate expanse. It speaks to us in a multitude of ways. Through the light of stars, through the paths of invisible particles, and sometimes through enigmatic radio whispers. Each unexplained signal is a reminder that we are still newcomers in the cosmic conversation. There is so much we have yet to understand. Perhaps out there, other beings are sending signals of their own, wondering if someone will pick them up. Are we alone? Or are the stars full of listening ears and voices yet unheard? This question stretches our imagination. Each time we aim our telescopes at the sky, we are essentially asking the darkness, is anyone else out there? So far, the answer has been silence, or at least nothing we recognize. Some call this puzzling quiet the Fermi paradox. With so many stars and planets, why have we not heard from anyone yet? It could be that intelligent life is exceedingly rare, or very shy, or simply too far away. It might also be that we have heard, but did not understand, like hearing whispers in a foreign language. Until we know, we keep listening and hoping, or perhaps the universe itself, through its natural phenomena, is continually surprising us with phenomena beyond our predictions, prodding us to expand our knowledge of physics and astronomy. On a lonely hilltop, the giant ear of a radio telescope keeps turning, scanning star by star, galaxy by galaxy. Most nights, it hears only natural static, the chorus of stars being born and dying, of electrons spiraling in magnetic fields, of primordial background noise from the birth of the cosmos. But maybe tonight will be different. The scientists have no way of knowing when a new signal might arrive, only that if they do not listen, they will never hear it. So they listen, one eye on the data, one ear tuned to the music of the spheres. It is a patient vigil, fueled by curiosity and a hint of longing. The sky above is a vast ocean of stars. Now and then, a tiny meteor flits across the darkness, a brief sparkle that only accentuates the stillness after it's gone. The solitude of this hilltop is profound, but not lonesome. With the entire galaxy spread out overhead, one feels connected to something immeasurably large and meaningful. As the small hours of the morning pass, the Milky Way arches overhead in silent grandeur, a reminder of the vastness we are trying to survey. The telescope's dish slowly pivots to a new target. The universe remains mostly quiet, but not perfectly so. A sudden spike on a screen, a pattern that stands out from the noise, could change everything. It hasn't happened yet, but it might. And so, amid the crickets chirping in the grass and the faint hum of machinery, the listening continues. In that gentle anticipation lies a profound truth. We are not just observers of the cosmos, but participants in a kind of dialogue, however tentative and one-sided it may be for now. The night deepens, the stars wheel on, and humanity's ear stays pressed to the heavens, awaiting the next whisper, the next enigma, the next hint that in this vast mythic cosmos, we are part of something bigger, something still unfolding, chapter by chapter, signal by signal, mystery by mystery. In the silent twilight of a world on the brink of change, ancient storytellers spoke of cosmic cycles. They saw that after every dusk came a dawn, after every winter, a spring. And so they imagined the universe itself moving through great cycles of birth, death, and renewal. From distant corners of the world, peoples who never met somehow shared a vision that the cosmos has its own rhythm of beginnings and endings, an eternal turning of the wheel of time. It is a theme whispered in myths across cultures, hinting that no creation story is complete without an eventual ending, and often a hope of rebirth beyond the end. In the Chaold North, the Norse sagas foretell a final winter unlike any other. A bitter chill falls on the world, 3 seasons of snow with no spring to follow. It is the twilight of the gods. Wolves devour the sun and moon, stealing their light from the sky, and stars vanish into darkness. Under a blackened firmament, the mighty ash tree, Yggdrasil, quivers. The old gods march to war against giant forces of chaos. Fire engulfs the earth as the giant Surt sweeps flames across the world. Oceans roar over the land. In this doom called Ragnarok, the world as it was comes to an end. Yet even as the sky burns and the gods fall, the story does not finish in despair. When the smoke clears and the floodwaters recede, a new world rises, green and reborn from the wreckage. From a hidden shelter emerge 2 human survivors, named Leif and Lifthrasir in Norse lore, nourished only by morning dew. They walk the gentle land under a new sun. In that renewed world, the cycle begins again. Life finding a way after what seemed like the end of all things. Far to the east, in the ancient tales of India, the universe itself was said to breathe in and out like a great living being. According to Hindu cosmology, time unfolds in vast cycles beyond ordinary comprehension. Worlds and epochs come and go in an endless procession. They speak of Brahma, the cosmic creator, opening his eyes to manifest a cosmos teeming with life. For billions of years, creation flourishes, an age of gods and beings playing out their destinies. Then, when Brahma closes his eyes, the universe dissolves into a cosmic night. All matter and life are reabsorbed into the primordial waters of chaos. Yet this is not a final end, but a slumber before the next dawn. With the next cosmic breath, Brahma awakens again, and creation is reborn anew. This grand cycle, repeating eternally, offers a vision of a universe without ultimate beginning or end, only phases of activity and rest, like day and night on a cosmic scale. In Central America, the ancient Maya and Aztec peoples also perceived cosmic time as a series of creations and destructions. In Aztec lore, 4 worlds had existed before the present one, each governed by its own sun and each ending in catastrophe. One world was devoured by jaguars, another swept away by fierce winds. The next was consumed by fire from the sky, and yet another drowned in a great flood. After each destruction, the gods gathered to bring forth a new sun and a new age. The 5th sun, they said, is the sun under which we now live, born out of divine sacrifice and destined one day to fall in a mighty earthquake. Yet even from that future ruin, a new world would emerge once more. This vision of successive suns reflects a conviction that even the demise of all things simply paves the way for a new beginning. Farther north on the American continent, the Hopi people tell of multiple worlds that have existed before our own. In their tradition, 3 previous worlds were destroyed in turn, first by fire, then by ice, then by flood, each calamity cleansing the earth of corruption. But each time, a handful of virtuous humans survived by seeking refuge in hidden places or by following divine guidance through secret passages beneath the earth. Those survivors emerged into a fresh new world to carry on the life of humanity. The Hopi say we now live in the fourth world, and how we care for it will decide our future, implying that even this world could one day be transformed again. Their stories, like so many others, carry the message that existence moves through grand stages, each world rising from the ashes of the last. In ancient Egypt, a drama of death and rebirth played out not only on a cosmic timescale, but every single day. As night fell, the sun god Ra was said to sail his boat through the perilous underworld. In the darkness, he battled the serpent of chaos, Apophis, a great cosmic snake, who sought to devour the light. For a time each night, it seemed chaos might triumph as the world lay in darkness. But without fail, by early morning, Ra emerged victorious, reborn as the rising sun. Each dawn was a reassurance, a daily cosmic rebirth, proving that light and order would return after darkness. This cycle of day and night, the death and rebirth of the sun, gave the Egyptians hope that beyond any darkness or chaos, a renewal of life awaited. Across cultures, symbols arose to represent this eternal renewal. One enduring image is that of the serpent biting its own tail, the Ouroboros, forming a circle with no beginning or end. To the ancients, the Ouroboros illustrated how the end of one cycle feeds into the beginning of the next, the universe continually recreating itself. Another beloved symbol is the phoenix, the mythical bird consumed by flames only to rise anew from its own ashes. Though not about the cosmos as a whole, the phoenix embodies the same promise on a smaller scale, that from destruction, life can be reborn. These symbols resonated through the ages, reinforcing the belief that nothing truly ends definitively. Instead, every ending leads to a new beginning in the grand story of the cosmos. Even in traditions that view time as having a singular beginning and a final end, the motif of cosmic rebirth appears. In the apocalyptic visions of the Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the world as we know it will one day undergo a final upheaval. After a period of tribulation and judgment, darkness and suffering give way to renewal. The book of Revelation speaks of a new heaven and a new earth emerging after the old passes away. In Islamic tradition, the day of resurrection leads to a restored paradise. These are not cycles to repeat forever, but they still assert that an end is not truly an end. It is a gateway to another state of existence, purified and renewed. In this way, even linear philosophies of time find room for hope beyond an ultimate ending. From Scandinavia to India, from the Americas to the Nile Valley, people imagined cosmic chapters that close and then begin anew. This remarkable convergence, cultures separated by oceans, all telling of great endings, followed by renewal, suggests a profound human intuition at work. Perhaps it was born from observing the cycles of nature and the stars themselves. Night yields to day, winter to spring, and so even the greatest darkness seems destined to give way to light. Myths of cosmic rebirth gave our ancestors comfort that destruction is never absolute, that life and hope will return in some form. And in subtle ways, Modern science echoes this ancient instinct. A dying star scatters the elements that will someday form new stars and planets. Even in the vast cosmos, creation and destruction are intertwined. The story of the universe, it seems, is never truly over. It keeps unfolding in cycles beyond counting. Even philosophers in classical antiquity entertained the idea of cosmic cycles. The Stoics of ancient Greece envisioned a universe periodically consumed by a great fire and reborn anew, an eternal cycle called the ekpyrosis. In this view, the cosmos had no final end. It would regenerate endlessly in time. Such ideas show that even without modern science, humans intuitively grappled with the concept of an eternal return on a cosmic scale. This sense of cosmic continuity goes hand in hand with another profound idea, that all things in the universe are interconnected. As people gazed at the heavens and then back to their own lives on Earth, they felt an invisible thread linking the two. The sky was not a distant stranger, but a realm intimately tied to human existence. In myth and legend, the cosmos was often portrayed as a grand tapestry, each star and each life a part of one immense design. And today, as science explores the universe, it too reveals a vast network of connections binding everything together. Under the canopy of stars, separated by great distances, different peoples often saw familiar shapes glimmering above. The constellations became a shared human inheritance. Even when the stories attached to them differed, many cultures looked at a certain group of bright stars and saw the outline of a great bear. The Greeks told of a she-bear transformed into stars, while some Native American storytellers also spoke of a bear pursued by hunters across the sky. Another cluster, the Pleiades, a tight swarm of tiny lights, was recognized around the world as a band of siblings or companions. They were 7 divine sisters in one Greek myth, 7 little girls in a Japanese tale, and 7 maidens fleeing a hunter in an Australian Aboriginal legend. That so many far-flung societies picked out the same star patterns and imagined such similar themes speaks to a universal human impulse. Even the Milky Way, that pale band of light arching across the sky, inspired similar imaginings in distant cultures. The Greeks saw it as milk spilled from the breast of a goddess, giving it the name galaxy from their word for milk. In China, it was the Silver River, a celestial stream separating lovers in a popular legend. To the Lakota people of North America, the Milky Way was the spirit path, along which souls of the departed walk to the hereafter. Different peoples, one sky, each finding meaning in that gauzy band of stars, and weaving it into their cultural tapestries. Such commonalities hint that when we gaze at the same heavens, our minds often travel down similar routes of wonder. We are connected by the very stars we all see, night after night, generation after generation. No matter where or when, humans have all looked up at the same lights and felt the same pull of curiosity and connection. Over time, even science reinforced the ancient intuition of a connected cosmos. In the 17th century, Isaac Newton realized that the force pulling an apple to the ground is the very same force that guides the moon in its orbit around Earth and keeps planets circling the sun. Gravity, he found, is a universal link, uniting the dance of the celestial bodies with everyday life on Earth under one law of nature. This groundbreaking insight dissolved the old notion that the heavens obeyed different rules than the terrestrial world. It turned out that apples and planets fall in accordance with the same cosmic principle. Such discoveries showed that the fabric of reality is one, continuous from earth to sky, just as the storytellers had always felt in their bones. The sky served as a map, not just for stories, but for journeys across our world. For millennia, travelers and sailors guided themselves by the stars, trusting the North Star to point the way, or the rising of certain constellations to mark the seasons. In this way, the heavens directly guided human lives, a literal connection between cosmos and daily existence. The stars were signposts in the night, binding the far reaches of space to a shepherd on a hilltop or a navigator at sea. To ancient eyes, this felt like a covenant between earth and sky. As long as the patterns above remained steady and knowable, people could find their way below. Such reliance reinforced the idea that humanity and the cosmos were deeply intertwined. Ancient philosophers and mystics spoke of a mysterious bond between the heavens and the earth. The old maxim, "as above, so below," expressed the belief that patterns in the sky were reflected in events on earth. Kings and commoners alike looked for meaning in the motion of planets and the dance of stars, convinced that the cosmos and human fate moved in synchrony. An eclipse, or a comet, was never merely a distant event. It was an omen, a message from the universe influencing the affairs of humanity. Today we understand these celestial events as natural phenomena, not directed signs. Yet the ancient idea holds a poetic truth. We are made of the same cosmic matter and abide by the same physical laws as the stars above. In a very real sense, what happens above and what happens below are parts of one grand reality. The connection is not mystical portent, but fundamental kinship, a unity of all things under the cosmos. Many legends merge human lives with the stars, blurring the line between earth and sky. When a beloved hero or a tragic lover died in ancient stories, often the gods placed them among the stars as a constellation. The Greeks imagined the mighty hunter Orion striding eternally across the heavens after his death, and they saw the seven Pleiades as sisters immortalized in the sky to escape sorrow. In Chinese lore, the stars of Aquila and Lyra became a cowherd and a weaver girl, separated by the Milky Way, allowed to meet only once a year as a bridge of magpies spans the sky. Such tales gave the night sky a personal dimension. Our joys and sorrows, love and loss, were written into the stars themselves. The human story and the cosmic story became one and the same. In the East, a beautiful metaphor captured the idea of universal interdependence. The concept of Indra's net envisions the universe as an infinite web, stretching out in all directions, with a shining jewel at every intersection of the threads. Each jewel reflects the light of all the others, so that a change in one is mirrored across the entire net. In this poetic image, nothing exists in isolation. Every particle, every being, every star is interconnected. Centuries later, science would indeed reveal a real cosmic web. Galaxies strung along filaments of invisible matter, a vast network connecting clusters of galaxies across millions of light years. The ancient intuition of a cosmic net of connectivity resonates with modern discoveries. In both legend and reality, the cosmos weaves a web of connections linking the great and the small, the stars and our very selves. Modern astronomy has revealed perhaps the most profound connection of all. Every one of us is literally made of stardust. The iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, the oxygen we breathe. These atoms were forged in the hearts of ancient stars. Long before our sun existed, massive stars lived and died, exploding as supernovae and scattering their enriched guts across space. Our solar system formed from that cosmic debris, and so did we. In a very real sense, the universe is our ancestor. The stars are kin to us, not just distant points of light, but the source of our elemental being. When ancient myths claimed we were children of the sky, or fashioned from cosmic clay, they were touching on a truth we only confirmed millennia later. We are intimately connected to the cosmos, because we are its offspring. Even the events of the wider cosmos have quietly shaped the history of life on our world. Meteorites and comets crashing to Earth have brought both destruction and opportunity. A giant asteroid impact is believed to have ended the age of the dinosaurs, altering the course of evolution and ultimately giving mammals, and thus humans, a chance to thrive. On a gentler note, comets might have delivered water and organic molecules to the early Earth, seeding the ingredients for life. Every day as well, cosmic particles called neutrinos stream through our bodies by the trillions, emanating from the nuclear furnace of the sun and even distant stars. Though we cannot feel them, these ghostly messengers remind us that energy and matter constantly flow between our planet and the wider universe. We exist in these cosmic cross-currents, influenced in both seen and unseen ways by our starry environment. The connection is also physical and immediate. Gravity binds the Earth to the sun and the moon to the Earth. The gentle tug of our moon pulls the oceans into tides, a cosmic rhythm that has guided life's cycles for eons. The sun's gravity holds our planet in orbit, while its light sustains every living thing. Even distant celestial bodies exert influence. The gas giant Jupiter's presence in our solar system has shielded Earth from many wandering comets, its strong gravity acting as a guardian by drawing in potential threats. We live in a celestial family where each member influences the others. Our sun itself orbits the center of the Milky Way, moving amid billions of stars. In this grand gravitational dance, nothing exists alone. Every planet's motion and every moon's tug is part of a cosmic choreography, reminding us that we are part of a larger structure. Throughout history, unusual celestial events were often seen as messages or omens linking the heavens to human fate. A sudden comet, with its ghostly tail streaming across the sky, could send kings and commoners alike into a frenzy of interpretation. The appearance of Halley's Comet in 1066, for instance, was recorded in medieval Europe as a harbinger of great upheaval. It blazed in the sky shortly before a king's downfall and a conquest that changed nations. Likewise, solar eclipses, when day turned briefly to uncanny darkness, were interpreted as cosmic warnings or moments when the normal order of the world was upended. To ancient eyes, these events were not random. They must mean something important for life on Earth. Today we understand the natural causes of comets and eclipses, but the old instinct to find meaning in them speaks to our desire to see our human story reflected in the cosmos. It is another thread binding our lives to the movements of the stars. Through myth and science alike, the message is clear. Nothing in the cosmos stands truly alone. Every star that shines, every life that blooms, every particle dancing in the void is part of a single, interconnected tapestry. The ancients sensed it in stories of cosmic trees and celestial webs, and we confirm it in discovering gravity's grasp and stardust in our veins. The universe is a whole, and we are woven into it. To know this is to feel a profound kinship with all of existence. When we look up at the night sky, we can sense that connection, the feeling that we belong to something vast and wondrous, bound by threads of story and reality to the furthest galaxy and the nearest blade of grass. For as long as humans have looked up at the stars, we have wondered about our own place in the grand scheme of the cosmos. In the ancient stories, our world often sat at the center of creation. Many early cultures imagined the universe as built around us, the sky a dome arcing over a flat earth, or the earth a special realm between heaven above and an underworld below. These cosmic maps made humanity feel at home and significant. But as our understanding deepened, we learned that the true cosmos is far more vast, and our physical place in it far more humble than our ancestors could have known. Before the scientific era, every culture devised its own cosmic architecture, placing humanity in a meaningful context. Some imagined the Earth as a flat disk floating on endless waters, covered by the great dome of the sky. The ancient Egyptians pictured the sky as the goddess Nut arching over the Earth, her body studded with stars. Hindu lore spoke of the Earth supported on the backs of 4 mighty elephants, standing on a cosmic turtle, swimming through the primeval sea. In Norse mythology, our world, Midgard, was nestled among 9 realms, held together by the world tree Yggdrasil. These models may seem poetic or quaint now, but they gave people a sense of order and belonging in an overwhelming cosmos. Each story made the universe a home, with Earth at the center of a divinely arranged structure. For centuries, the prevailing view placed Earth at the center of all things. The sun, moon, and stars were thought to revolve around us, as if we were the pivot of existence. This geocentric model was comforting but deceptive. In the 16th and 17th centuries, observers like Copernicus and Galileo dared to propose and prove a startling truth. Earth is not the center. Our planet is one of several orbiting the sun, just another world in the solar system. This revelation was profound and disorienting. This new heliocentric reality was not accepted overnight. It challenged not just science, but the deeply held beliefs of the time. Galileo Galilei, who championed the evidence that Venus circles the sun and that Jupiter has its own moons, faced fierce opposition from authorities who saw Earth's demotion as heresy. He was forced to recant publicly, but the truth of the sun-centered system only spread. Over the next centuries, humanity slowly came to terms with the fact that our planet is not the universe's focal point. What once wounded our pride eventually instilled a noble humility and a drive to learn more about the vast cosmos in which we found ourselves. In time, further discoveries pushed us even farther from any notion of cosmic center. The sun, once thought to command the universe, turned out to be one ordinary star among countless others. In the early 20th century, astronomer Edwin Hubble showed that our starry Milky Way was not the whole universe. It was just one galaxy among billions. The scale of creation expanded beyond all prior imagination. We learned that our sun sits on the fringe of an average spiral galaxy, which itself is an unremarkable member of a vast cosmic sea of galaxies. There is no central throne in the universe, no single place that everything revolves around. Earth is a small world, orbiting an average star, tucked away in a quiet corner of a standard galaxy. This knowledge might have made us feel insignificant at first, but it also opened our eyes to a breathtaking reality without bounds. Adding to this humbling perspective, we have also learned that our solar system is not unique. In recent decades, astronomers have discovered thousands of planets orbiting other stars, exoplanets of all sizes and kinds. Some circle their suns in tightly packed orbits, others in wide, eccentric paths. There are giant gas worlds bigger than Jupiter and small rocky spheres reminiscent of Earth. This revelation that planets abound throughout the galaxy suggests that our cosmic neighborhood is just one of countless others. Once, we might have imagined our solar system was special, perhaps the only home of planets. Now we know that the night sky is filled with other suns that likely host their own families of worlds. This realization further decentralizes us, yet it also opens the tantalizing possibility that some of those far-off worlds could harbor life or even civilizations. The universe seems to favor multiplicity, not solitude. Not only are we not central in space, we also occupy just a tiny moment in cosmic time. The universe is roughly 13.8 billion years old. By comparison, our Earth formed about 4.5 billion years ago, and humans in our modern form have existed for only about 200,000 years, a mere blink of an eye. To put that in perspective, the cosmic calendar analogy, popularized by astronomer Carl Sagan, dramatizes this view. If the entire 13.8 billion year history of the universe were compressed into 1 year, the Big Bang would occur at the stroke of midnight on January 1st. Each month would span a little over 1 billion years. By May, the Milky Way galaxy forms. Around early September, our Sun and Earth take shape. Life arises on Earth by late September. Dinosaurs appear on December 26th and vanish by December 30 on that calendar. All of human recorded history, every moment of civilization, from ancient Egypt to the present, would occupy only the last 30 seconds of December 31st, just before the clock strikes midnight. Everything we have ever done is but a fleeting instant in the cosmic year. And yet, that instant is immeasurably precious to us. Coming to terms with our brief, late arrival can be humbling. It forces us to realize that the cosmos was here long before us and will continue long after we are gone. Yet instead of despairing at our smallness in space and time, many have found profound solace and perspective in it. When astronauts first left Earth and looked back from the moon, they saw no borders or human divisions, only a delicate blue sphere floating in the blackness of space. In that moment, humanity glimpsed itself as one small family sharing a lonely world. This profound shift in perspective has even earned a name: the overview effect. The almost spiritual realization of unity and fragility that astronauts describe upon viewing Earth from space. Later, an image of the pale blue dot, Earth captured from billions of miles away, appearing as a tiny pinprick of light, drove home how precious and fragile our home really is. It underscored that in the cosmic ocean, there's nowhere else we know that can nurture us. Every human who ever lived, every triumph and tragedy, has unfolded on that tiny speck suspended in sunlight. Seen from the stars, our differences fade and our common fate becomes clear. Our place among the stars is humble, but it is also unique and profoundly meaningful to us. Losing the illusion of centrality was challenging, but it did not strip us of meaning. Instead, it offered a new perspective on where meaning can be found, through understanding and connection. We discovered that, despite our small size, we possess something remarkable: the ability to comprehend and contemplate the universe. We can map the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, decode the light of distant galaxies, and unravel the chemistry of stars. By doing so, we act as the universe's own witnesses and storytellers. It has been said that we are a way for the cosmos to know itself, conscious beings born from ancient stardust, now able to reflect on the very stars that made us. Our presence gives the universe eyes and ears, curiosity and wonder. In that sense, however tiny we are, we have a special role. We bring meaning to the cosmos simply by observing and appreciating its grandeur. In our quest to understand the stars, we also understand ourselves. Our place among the stars is not a static one. We are explorers by nature. From the moment we first built telescopes, our eyes roamed the heavens. We have been extending our reach ever since. Robotic emissaries have visited our neighbouring planets, and in 1969, humans set foot on the moon, our first step onto another world. We have even dispatched probes like the Voyagers to venture beyond our solar system, each carrying a golden record etched with music, voices, and messages in case they ever drift into the hands of distant beings among the stars. We also listen for signals from the galaxy, straining to hear a whisper from other civilizations. So far, the silence is deep. Perhaps intelligent life is exceedingly rare, making our own existence all the more precious. Or perhaps others are out there, separated by vast gulfs of space and time. Either way, by reaching out and exploring, we show that we are not content to remain confined to our small planet. We seek to belong to the cosmos at large. Even long before modern technology made it possible, the dream of touching the stars was alive in our myths and imagination. Ancient storytellers spoke of heroes who ascended to the heavens, or of shamans who travelled the skies in trance. The Greek legend of Icarus imagined flying so high that one could reach the realm of the sun, and countless folktales around the world told of wise figures carried up to visit celestial beings. These tales reflected a deep yearning to break the bounds of Earth and know what lies beyond. Today, when rockets roar to life and carry our messengers into space, we are, in a way, fulfilling those old dreams. Our mythic yearning to travel the cosmos has become a real voyage, a testament to human curiosity spanning across ages. Our journey into the cosmos has only begun. In the coming centuries, humans may settle on the moon or Mars, and robotic explorers will push outward to the distant moons of Jupiter and beyond. We can imagine a future where our descendants travel among the stars, making homes on far-off worlds. If that day comes, our notion of home will expand vastly, yet we will still carry with us that first humble home, the Earth, in our memories and myths. Wherever we go, the night sky will be our constant companion, and the stories of Earth and its skies will remain a part of us. Our place among the stars will evolve as we do, but the connection to our origins and the awe of the universe will continue to guide us. Thus, our place among the stars is a paradoxical one. We are exceedingly small on the cosmic scale, and yet we carry within us the capacity to dream, to explore, and to understand that cosmos. We began as sky gazers sheltered on a tiny world, telling stories about the lights above. Now we have grown into explorers who reach toward those stars with rockets and with reason. We have learned humility in seeing that we are not the center of the universe, but we have also found new inspiration in knowing we are part of something vast and magnificent. The value of our place in the cosmos lies not in our size or location, but in the significance we create. It lies in our curiosity, our unity, and our ongoing quest to know the universe and ourselves. By embracing our true place, not at the center, but intimately connected to the whole, we find not despair, but a profound sense of belonging. We come to feel at home in the cosmos, and with that comes a quiet but powerful sense of purpose. For all our advances, countless questions remain. The cosmos has never yielded all its secrets, and perhaps it never will. In ancient times, people filled the unknown with stories of gods, monsters, and magic. Today, we use mathematics and telescopes to probe the darkness. Yet in both eras, a sense of mystery endures. There are edges of knowledge where our understanding thins out into wonder, horizons beyond which we have not yet peered. There are even limits to what we can, in principle, ever see. The observable universe, the portion of the cosmos from which light has had time to reach us, is like a bubble around us, about 93 billion light-years in diameter. But beyond that horizon, the universe likely extends further, perhaps infinitely. We will never know directly what lies in those far reaches, beyond the curtain of light's reach. There may be countless galaxies forever hidden from us, or the very fabric of reality might change beyond our cosmic horizon. This means that some aspects of the cosmos will remain unknowable, no matter how sophisticated our technology becomes. It's a humbling thought that even as we expand our cosmic awareness, there will always be a frontier of mystery just out of reach. One of the greatest mysteries is how it all began. Creation myths spoke of gods, cosmic eggs, or primordial chaos to explain the universe's birth. In modern science, we have the Big Bang theory, the idea that the universe sprang forth from an extremely hot, dense state nearly 14 billion years ago and has been expanding ever since. For a long time, even scientists assumed the universe had always existed in a steady state, without a beginning. But in the 20th century, evidence began to suggest otherwise. Galaxies were found to be rushing apart, implying that everything was once closer together. This led to the theory of the universe's hot origin. According to this theory, the universe sprang forth from an initial fiery moment and has been expanding ever since. But what caused this Big Bang? What was there before it, if anything at all? On these questions, our knowledge falls silent. Some scientists speculate about answers. Perhaps our universe is one of many in an endless multiverse, or perhaps it cycles through big bangs and big crunches infinitely. Others imagine a quantum fluctuation in a void sparked everything. But such ideas remain on the frontier of the knowable. The truth is, the ultimate origin of existence remains as mysterious to us as the moment of creation was to our distant ancestors. We can describe the first fractions of a second after the universe ignited, yet the spark itself, the why and how of it all, still eludes our grasp. It is a cosmic secret, waiting in the dark. Just as we puzzle over the beginning, we also wonder how the story of the universe might end, or if it will end at all. The ancient myths imagined fiery apocalypses or great floods to close the cosmic tale, often followed by rebirth. Science offers a few possible destinies for the universe, but each remains uncertain. One scenario is eternal expansion. The universe keeps spreading out, galaxies speeding away from each other faster and faster under the push of a mysterious force we call dark energy. If this expansion continues forever, then trillions of years in the future, the stars will one by one exhaust their fuel. New stars will cease to form, galaxies will go dark, and the cosmos will drift into a cold, silent night without end, the so-called heat death. In that far future, only thin gas and black, frozen remnants of stars and galaxies would remain, spread thinly across an ever-widening expanse. It is a melancholy vision, a universe that began in brilliant light, ending in darkness and quiet. Another possibility is that gravity might someday halt the expansion and pull everything back inward. The galaxies would begin to rush together, the universe shrinking until it ends in a colossal implosion, a big crunch. Some have imagined that such a collapse could trigger a new Big Bang, the cosmos reborn from its own ashes in an eternal cycle. In that case, our universe might be just one of many, part of an infinite series of cosmic oscillations. Current observations suggest our universe is more likely to expand forever, but we cannot be absolutely certain. There is even a more eerie scenario some cosmologists have proposed, known as the Big Rip. In this speculative end, the mysterious dark energy driving expansion grows ever stronger over time. Eventually, far in the future, its repulsive force could overcome all other forces. Galaxies would be pulled apart, then star systems, then planets, and finally even atoms might be torn asunder. The universe would literally rip itself apart. This is a highly speculative idea, and current data do not confirm it. But it serves as a reminder of how much remains unknown about the cosmic forces at work. Will the cosmos fade away into darkness, resurrect itself in a new cycle, or meet some other end we have yet to conceive? The final chapter of the cosmic saga remains unwritten. Until we gather more clues, or until that distant fate arrives, the ultimate destiny of the universe will remain one of the greatest mysteries of all. Even in the present, much of the cosmos is still literally dark to us, not only distant and unseen, but composed of things we don't yet understand. For example, when we observe galaxies, we find they spin and move as if influenced by far more matter than we can see. We call this unseen mass dark matter. It neither emits nor reflects light, making it invisible to our telescopes. Yet its gravity quietly sculpted the galaxies and holds them together. We know it's there by the way it pulls on things, but we don't yet know what it actually is. Likewise, the expansion of the universe is mysteriously accelerating due to something we've termed dark energy, an unknown force or energy permeating space that seems to push galaxies apart faster and faster. By our best estimates, dark matter and dark energy together make up about 95% of the universe, leaving only a small fraction as the familiar matter and energy we understand. In other words, the vast majority of our cosmos is still a mystery to us. We find ourselves rather like the ancients under the night sky, aware of our ignorance in the face of something immense and unseen. We have given these mysteries names, but those are merely placeholders for truths yet to be discovered. Another profound mystery is why the universe is so perfectly suited to bring forth life and consciousness, at least here on Earth. The fundamental constants of physics, such as the strength of gravity or the charge of the electron, have just the right values to allow stars to shine and planets to form. If they were even slightly different, atoms might not hold together, or stars might burn too quickly for life to evolve. Some scientists call this observation the anthropic principle. The universe appears fine-tuned in a way that permits our existence. Is this mere coincidence, an inevitable outcome, or something more? Some suggest that if there are countless universes with varying laws, a multiverse, we naturally find ourselves in one where conditions happen to support life. Others see a hint of deeper design or purpose at work. It remains an open question why the cosmos has the properties it does, a question that blurs the line between science and philosophy. Like the ancients who pondered why the world was made the way it is, we too are moved to wonder why the universe is so hospitable to us. It is a mystery that may forever inspire both scientific inquiry and philosophical reflection. Perhaps the most poignant cosmic mystery is the question of life beyond our own world. Are we alone in the universe? For ages, people have wondered if the stars above are home to other beings who might be gazing back. Ancient myths populated the skies with deities and spirits, suggesting that the heavens were full of life of a divine or supernatural kind. Today, we take a scientific approach. We search the planets of our solar system and distant exoplanets orbiting other suns for any hint of biology. We also listen with giant radio antennas for whispers from intelligent neighbors among the stars. So far, these efforts have met with silence and mystery. We have yet to discover even a simple microbe beyond Earth, let alone an advanced civilization. It could be that life, especially intelligent life, is exceedingly rare, a precious spark in a vast darkness. Or it might be that life abounds in the galaxy, but in forms or places we have not yet learned to detect. The truth is, right now, we simply do not know. We might be the sole bearers of consciousness in our cosmic neighborhood, or one of countless civilizations, each isolated by immense distances and time. Until we find evidence one way or the other, the question remains one of the most profound uncertainties. It is a tantalizing mystery that keeps us gazing at the sky and listening in hope that someday we will hear an echo of another voice in the cosmic silence. There are also deep mysteries lurking in specific cosmic phenomena. Consider black holes, the remnants of massive stars that collapsed under their own gravity so intensely that not even light can escape their grasp. We have learned a great deal about these dark, strange objects. We can detect their presence by the X-rays from hot gas spiraling into them, and scientists have even imaged the shadow of a black hole outlined against a glowing backdrop of gas. Yet what happens deep inside a black hole, at its very core, remains unknown. Our laws of physics themselves break down under the extreme conditions inside a black hole. Space and time might be warped beyond recognition. Some theories suggest that at a black hole's center lies a singularity, a point of infinite density, or perhaps a gateway to another part of the cosmos, ideas that sound like science fiction. The truth is, we simply don't know, because no information can escape from within a black hole to enlighten us. These cosmic abysses guard their secrets behind horizons from which no message can return. They stand as reminders that there are limits to our knowledge, places where mystery prevails. Mysteries also linger at the very foundations of reality. Some modern theories suggest that our universe may have more dimensions than the four we experience, 3 of space and 1 of time. These extra dimensions might be curled up at scales too small to detect, or we may be like shadows on a higher dimensional reality, only perceiving a slice of what truly exists. This is still highly speculative science, but it raises age-old questions in a new form. Is the cosmos we perceive only part of a greater unseen existence? Ancient myths posited realms beyond our own, heavens, underworlds, other planes of being. In today's language, physics wonders about higher dimensions and parallel universes. We find echoes of the timeless human intuition that reality might be layered and mysterious, with hidden depths beyond the visible. Every time we make a breakthrough, new questions arise. When we learned what stars are made of, we discovered dark matter and dark energy lurking beyond. When we mapped the galaxy, we found countless more galaxies stretching into the distance. When we thought we understood physics, quantum mysteries and paradoxes emerged to challenge us. It seems that the more we uncover about the universe, the more profound and numerous the remaining mysteries become. This might be the nature of an infinite cosmos, an endless well of discovery where each answer is not an end, but a door to further questions. And so, even after centuries of discovery, the night sky retains its power to stir our souls. We have traded star myths for star maps, yet when we stand under the heavens on a clear night, we feel the same wonder our ancestors felt. The old stories and the new science both tell us, in their own ways, that the cosmos is vast, mysterious, and deeply intertwined with our existence. We carry the legacy of those first myths as we point our telescopes upward. In a sense, we are still telling stories about the stars. Only now our stories include galaxies and atoms, equations and space probes, alongside gods and heroes of old. The mythic cosmos and the scientific cosmos converge into one grand narrative, the story of human beings striving to understand an infinite universe. This journey through legendary tales and astronomical mysteries has shown us that while we have learned so much, there is always more to explore. Yet rather than fear the unknown, we can find comfort in it. In a sense, the mysteries we probe now through science are echoes of the questions our ancestors addressed with myths. We still ask how the world began, what unseen forces shape it, whether we are alone, and how it will all end. The language has changed. We speak of big bangs and dark matter rather than cosmic eggs and sky gods. But the wonder is the same. Each equation scribbled by a physicist, and each tale spun by an elder around a fire spring from the same well of curiosity. Our myths and our science are both expressions of the human mind, reaching out to the infinite, trying to grasp our origins, destiny, and the nature of reality. In this way, the ancient and the modern are connected. The starry sky continues to inspire us to tell stories, whether in the form of scientific theories or legends. And both kinds of stories, in their own ways, bring us closer to the cosmos and to understanding ourselves. We are part of that ongoing cosmic story, a story with no end in sight. In the face of eternity, our lives and questions have meaning because they are threads in the tapestry of the universe. Under the quiet canopy of stars, we can sense our connection to something larger and older than we are. The cosmos may never reveal all its secrets, but it welcomes our curiosity. It challenges us to look deeper, while also gently reminding us to appreciate the sheer beauty of existence. As we conclude our journey, we do so with a feeling of calm and wonder. The stars above will continue to inspire, and we will continue to seek and to dream. In that pursuit lies a profound reassurance that we belong to the cosmos, and the cosmos lives within us. The story of the mythic cosmos, of legendary tales and astronomical mysteries, is, in truth, the story of us all, gazing upward together in eternal curiosity and hope. And as long as those mysteries beckon, humanity will continue its ageless quest, watching, wondering, and reaching for the stars. In the end, we find ourselves not so different from those first stargazers who gathered under the night sky. We still tilt our heads back in wonder, hearts stirred by the glitter of the Milky Way, minds ignited with questions. An ancient storyteller might have pointed to Orion's belt and spun a legend of a great hunter, while a modern astronomer points a telescope at the same stars to gather data. But both are engaged in a dialogue with the cosmos. Both are seeking to translate the silent language of the stars into something our human minds can grasp. The forms of our answers evolve, yet the fundamental longing endures. The sky that spoke to our ancestors still speaks to us today, urging us to ponder and to dream. In that continuity lies a kind of comfort. Generations across thousands of years, united by the shared act of looking up and feeling awe. As we close this exploration, we carry forward this timeless tradition, inspired by the mythic cosmos, enlightened by scientific discovery, and ever humbled by the endless mysteries that remain overhead.